এই তো অনেক ভালো, আপনার সবাই ভালো আছেন?
Okay, is that question for me or?
জি 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 জি।
Okay, there's a G.
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, জি
Oh, I think he's on phone.
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
And he did not. He forgot to mute his mic. Okay, guys, so let's get going. And what are we at now putting here? Administrator at vSphere.local. And then so hopefully it's that was encrypted password. So talking G to I mean okay, master G. So okay, let's log in. So now last time what we did was we were trying to connect. We created a cluster, and then we talked about HA and DRS, and it was so boring that people were taking yawns, a huge amount of yawns there. So what? Hey, whose cell phone is that? And yeah, we didn't apply that. We didn't apply that. Apply what? We didn't apply the Japanese technology, which is mute. So I'm going to do that. So guys, we're talking about HA, DRS, FT, vSAN, EVC. So these are all the cluster technologies. A quick question to you would be what is the difference between HA and DRS? When HA kicks in and when DRS kicks in? So anyone can answer that? When HA kicks in, when DRS kicks in. So it's all about kicking, right? So anyone has answer to that? When do you use HA? When do you use DRS? Okay, there's one student from another college, and he is messaging me a lot. So let me just tell him, hey, in class. Okay, so there are the answer: cluster before HA. HA before DRS. Okay. So Mariam says, so Baba Todia says cluster before HA, HA before DRS. And you have to elaborate what exactly that means. But then Mariam says HA for when a host is crashed, and DRS is to distribute resources. Mahyar, HA restart failed VM. Okay, now we're yes. So exactly as you guys said that, and then Imani says, oh, okay, that's what you meant about it. But what's the difference? I mean, okay, that is how to enable HA or how to have HA, but what's the difference in there when each is used? That's a question. So Imani says DRS is a tool that uses Vmotion to automatically balance and optimize workloads according to available resources. Yeah, exactly. And so exactly, guys, as you were saying, that HA is used, and we have talked about that before as well. So what you know about the theory part will get you the job, and after that, in the interview, first day you have to qualify that about the concepts. If concepts are not clear, then good luck with your interview. But if concepts are clear, then you go ahead with, oh, can you do that? So doing part they do ask, but if first part you did not go ahead with the correct concepts, then interviewers also don't bother to ask the next lab related question. So suppose you did a lot of lab, but you didn't understand the concept, so all time wasted here, right? So and exactly what you said is correct. So HA, so it kicks in when we lose a host, and that would be crash, crash a host. When it's not when we have a crashed host or we lose a host, right? So VMs are restarted on on the surviving hosts, right? Surviving host. And when does DRS kicks in? So it kicks in when there is degradation of performance, and the VMs are Vmotioned to better / best performing host, right? With the help of DRS. So DRS does that. So next question to you is that so suppose the host goes down, can DRS also help in that? If a host goes down, so if host goes down, will DRS be of any help? Yes or no? If the host goes down, if the host crashes, hard disk gone, RAM gone, power supply is not there, and at once it crashes, will DRS be helpful or not? Okay, so okay, good. Okay, DRS will be of no use, definitely. And if there's a degradation of performance, does HA do anything? Well, then it will be vice versa. So, but definitely you guys are sharp, and many of you are paying attention. Maybe I'm sure all of you are paying attention, but it's good for you if you do pay attention. Okay, guys. So here HA DRS. So what's the difference? Difference between placement and Vmotion. I think I got you there now. What's the placement and Vmotion? And is it HA's service or DRS's? So difference between placement and Vmotion. You can also say it on the mic, or you can also write it. Placement. Okay, Mariam says at power on, DRS decide to put the VM in which host. Okay. Placement is for startup. Okay, if the machine is starting. So which is the best suited host for that? So, and have lots of resources, max resources. So yeah, again, the difference between placement and Vmotion. So yeah, you're right about that. So placement is at startup, which VM is supposed to be on which best suited host, which means that if it's a SQL server that is memory and CPU, consuming application, so it will decide, the DRS will decide that okay, let's place it on the best suited host, whichever it is starting in. So let's start it in the best suited host. And Vmotion, yeah, so you know already about Vmotion, that it will, if there's a degradation of performance, it's just going to move it to the best performing host. So placement is used when VM is shut down. Vmotion is used when when it is started, when it is powered on, when it is working at startup. Okay, So placement at startup, which VM is supposed to be in which, oops, sorry, oops. Host. Okay guys, so this is just a reminder of what we are going to, because what we are going to discuss depends on, did you remember what was going on in the previous week. So that's why I was just going for that, but obviously when you face a VMware interview, they will really be digging down about these concepts, and you should be very clear about them, right? So I'll be throwing more questions. In fact, by this weekend, by this weekdays, expect a quiz that will be on Blackboard. You just need to do it online, and I'll be watching you. So you have to be in front of the camera when you're doing the quiz, and so all of you, whenever you are ready, just let me know. I will just sit and keep staring at you while you're doing the quiz. If you look here and there, it's 0 marks, right? So okay, let's go ahead, guys. And now if we are logged into yeah, Pearson View. So Pearson View does that. Okay, so let's go ahead, guys, and now we need to continue with our rest of the features. So the feature that we're talking about, first of all, let's go to Tor cluster here within vCenter. Hopefully everyone's logged into vCenter here, and let's click the Tor cluster. And I'm just gonna also put this enter full screen mode. See this full screen mode. So in the Tor cluster, if we are there, let's go to summary of Tor cluster. And once we are in the summary here, so I'm just gonna make this recent task go down. And and I'll just drag this virtual machine window to the left side. So guys, is your vCenter totally balanced, or is it out of balance when it comes to vSphere DRS? So is it balanced, it is imbalanced, or out of balance for you? So click Tor cluster, then click summary, and then click vSphere DRS. So Tosin says out of balance, Mahmoud says totally balanced, Mahar says balance, it is in balance. Oh, okay, so for some it is balanced, for for others it is not balanced. Okay, but the thing is that we talked about a lot in terms of all the features, and you should take or make notes of all those features that we discussed, and that would be really important for your interview. When you're going for interview, also let me know. I'll send you some interview questions, but make sure that you understand the theory and repeat that. Give it your 200% now, and enjoy the rest of your life with a good job. But now is the time to really work hard and understand. Okay guys, so what we're doing here is that balanced is written there, and so Tor cluster and summary, that's the first stop here where we talk about balance or imbalanced, imbalance, that is. Then we go again to configure here. So Tor cluster is still configured or selected, and then let's click configure. Okay, so once you click Tor cluster here, then click configure, and then vSphere DRS. And we talked about DRS already. Let's click that and just make sure it is turned on right now. DRS is turned on, right? So DRS is turned on for everyone. One thing. Second thing is a quick question again. What is the purpose of power management? Quickly. What is the purpose of power management? What is the purpose of power management? Save hydro bill. I was gonna exactly say that. Save hydro bill. Exactly. So and Mahmoud also said that to save power. Exactly. So it will just DRS will just decide that if the hosts are started all night, so it will just analyze that, okay, if I just put the virtual machines of maybe out of 50, 10 hosts to the rest of the hosts because they're not busy, so then it will shut down the physical host. Then in the morning when the users start coming up and we need more CPU and RAM, so it will just send a remote command for the 10 hosts that it shut down last night to start again, and they will start, and then DRS will Vmotion all the machines back to those hosts. Hopefully they start. That's the only problem. To start or not to start, that's the question, right? So the thing is that, well, it's good practice, depends on if your hardware is new and you've tested it by configuring Wake on LAN. And there's a ILO software as well for HP. You can remotely connect to that and just start it up while it is shut down from remote. If remotely your servers are starting, then after shutdown, so then yeah, you can hand it over. Otherwise, it's all about management pressure. Hey, we have a lot of hydro bill, can you just manage that? And then you have to do that. Otherwise, you don't really have to do that. If it's older hardware, no way. That would be the main thing. Okay, so this is DRS, and we talked about the DRS automation, and then we talked about vSphere availability here. Let's click the vSphere availability. I hope it is on as well. And then there is proactive HA. We talked about all the features there in proactive HA as well. So let's go down further. So there was HA and DRS that is already powered on. If we go further down, so there are some features in the configuration area. I hope everyone's there. So let's go first to the VMware EVC, Enhance vMotion Compatibility, EVC. I hope everyone's seeing that. Let's click that VMware EVC. That's going to be very useful for you in production environment. So Enhance vMotion Compatibility, it hides your processor incompatibilities from the Vmotion. So Vmotion needs to migrate a machine from one host to another, and Vmotion will check if the processors are compatible. So EVC, suppose the processors are from the same family, but they are like one processor was created in 2018, second processor was created in 2020. So there are slight more advanced features in the 2020 released processor. So it can happen that Vmotion might not occur if there are some processor incompatibilities there. So some advanced features are there which are not there in the processor that was released in 2018, suppose, right? So EVC just does that. It tells Vmotion, hey Vmotion, it's okay, the older processor and the newer processor, they all have exactly the same features, please go ahead and do the Vmotion, right? So it's a really good practice to enable that because not every company will always have new hypervisor or physical servers like IBM, HP, and any other servers. So every year maybe they have a budget for new servers. They will purchase new physical servers. So it will be like in maybe 5 or 10 years you will have a mixture of old and new servers. So in that case, EVC always is, and that is always the case. So every year or every 2-3 years, companies have a budget to buy new servers, and they do that. So it's always old and new servers there. So let's go for VMware EVC, and let's click the edit button here. So once we click the edit button, I hope everyone's clicking the edit button here, and you can see that there's a EVC, and you can also see enable EVC for AMD hosts, enable EVC for Intel hosts. So what does that mean? If we click for EVC AMD hosts, enable EVC, as soon as you click that, it goes for the first generation 1. And if you drop down here, you can see AMD Opteron Gen 3, Gen 3 or Gen 4, and then pile driver generation, steamroller generation. So these are some of the processors that were suppose generation 1 processor was created. So now suppose you select generation 4, so it will still check your actual hardware. It's going to say that, hey, your processor is not compatible, or your processor is not AMD, not from this generation. So let's go for EVC for Intel hosts there, the other one, and let's click this. So enable EVC for Intel hosts, Intel Miron generation, Penrain, Nehalem, Westmere, Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge, and Broadwell. So these are all the generations. Now you have to select whichever goes green. So for me, Intel MIROM is not there. Penrain, if I go there, maybe that's it. No, normally mine is Sandy Bridge. So no, that's not it. Oh, okay, I already said that. So, and then Westmere, no, and Sandy Bridge, normally it is Sandy Bridge. No, yes, maybe. No. Okay, Ivy Bridge. Maybe it's Ivy Bridge or Haskell. Well, those are the three remaining. Oh, mine are not for everyone. Okay, so my Intel processor is Haskell generation, right? So there's a question there. So it will not work if one is AMD and another is Intel. No way, it's not gonna work. Exactly, you're right. If one is AMD, one is Intel, it's never gonna work. So, and we will go for so maybe your processors are different and different generation, so you have to select that. If you want EVC to work, you have to put those physical servers in a cluster that are from the same family. So these are Intel families here, and they will detect that which ones which hosts in your cluster are actually totally out of the family. Suppose one is from Westmere generation, the other one is Haskell generation, so it will be then incompatible. Even both are Intel, and then it will become incompatible because they're not from the same family. So Haskell generation, maybe they released within 2-3 years processors. Maybe 2017, then 2018 there was another upgrade, and then there was a 2020 there was another upgrade. So they would just call it one family. Maybe it's a 5-year gap, and they still call it one family. It's about the architecture of the processor, how different it is, and they will call it a different generation. So so mine is showing here Intel Haskell generation, but that means that the two hypervisors that I have, suppose you have 200 hypervisors and you've been adding 60 hypervisors, you've added to one cluster, 60 other hypervisors to another cluster, and when you go for this, so it would say no, not all are compatible. So it just follows the whole cluster. So hypervisor, so you have to make sure that you have the same type of hardware or nearly the same type of hardware in a cluster. So Imane says here is nothing compatible for me. You have a Macintosh, Imane, or Intel based? I think you have Intel based. So that laptop, Shiva also? Okay. Ade also? Kim also. So guys, well, the best solution would be, what? You kidding me? Everyone? Okay, so guys, what I was gonna say is that you should not have that processor based laptop. So the rule here is, if it's not belonging to any company, any generation, then you have to gift it to the teacher. So now that's a rule. I have to follow that, and obviously you have to follow that too, right? So just gift it all to the teacher. So I'll be sending you the address, and you can just ship all those laptops which are not compatible to the generation. You can ship it to me, and then you can buy those which are added to this company, right? So okay, generation. So guys, I got 4 generation compatible. I have 4 compatible. It is Intel i7. So the main thing is, let me know that. So I'll be like having now 9 or 10 laptops. So alright guys, the thing is, if it's not there, then these our laptops are not meant for vCenter and ESXi professional environments. These are personal laptops, right? And Intel processor. So I have i7 as well. I think those who are having i7s, they are detected, but maybe it's not compulsory. Any i7 and not detected? Anyone having i7 processor and not detected? Oh, okay. Mahmoud has i7. Tosin has i7 10th gen. Oh, that's too latest for VMware actually. So, yeah, they're all pretty much i7s, and so yeah. But guys, don't worry about that, right? The thing is that these laptops are not meant for ESXi. ESXi is supposed to be installed on a HP server, on IBM server, on Dell servers, on Cisco servers, on Blades. They're not supposed to be on our. So don't worry that it's not there. And you already tested Vmotion. It works. So this is for those server side, not laptop side where you have you should not have compatibility. So I'm going to just cancel out from here. Even if so we didn't enable that when we did the Vmotion, right? And Vmotion still works. I mean, it's still Vmotioning with DRS, so we don't need EVC, but we should understand what is EVC. It is to hide incompatibilities between the processors of two hosts. So that's what we need to confirm. What is my processor? It's Intel i7 quad core something something something. I don't know. You don't know that? System information. So it's this Intel R Core TM i7 4700MQ CPU. Yeah, so it's i7 4700MQ. So maybe that's yours as well, and it's Lenovo. But model should not be the problem. It should be the processor. So i7 4700MQ, right? Yeah, it's 4th gen. So I'm a poor guy actually. Yeah. So okay, guys. So let's go ahead and let's try to go for. Yeah, it is working. Yeah, it's working. So the thing is that this EVC is not meant for laptops. So again, stop worrying, guys. It's not meant for laptops, so don't worry about that, right? It's meant for servers, not laptops. So if you have done DRS, if you have done HA, you're already good. Okay, guys. So that's one thing. We understand that EVC hides incompatibilities of laptops. In fact, that's I'm gonna go for EVC is enhanced Vmotion compatibility. It hides the incompatibilities of different Intel or AMD generations. So Vmotion can happen. If one host, so what happened? If one host is AMD and other is Intel, then EVC cannot help us. If one host belongs to a different generation and the other host to different, then EVC cannot help as well. So we understand that, right? EVC cannot help in these two circumstances. Okay, so we understand that one thing here, right? So enhanced Vmotion, you just add, so the precaution would be add those physical servers in a cluster that have processors belonging to the same generation. That's the rule of thumb. That's it, right? So only add, so you are the administrator and you will be responsible for then deciding and procuring because even nowadays you have to purchase physical servers for virtualization, right? So for that, when you're procuring or you're purchasing, you need to be very careful, right? So that's one of the things that we wanted to know. Let's go ahead with another topic here. Yay! These are small topics now that are going, but they are, each of them are critical. So Mahmoud says it is a big constraint in production environment. Well, we can't say big because 80% of the world companies are having VMware. They just follow the rules of the biggest virtualization vendor on the planet, and the vendor made those rules because of then they cannot offer advanced features if they go so if there's a difference in processors, right? So okay, but these are the rules here. Yes, the companies who can afford. So Mahmood says that we cannot use older existing hardware. So the companies who can afford VMware normally are the companies that have a budget, that doesn't have budget constraints, or they're not small companies. Big companies normally have. So they follow what VMware says, and VMware, since VMware is the best, so VMware says, hey, if you follow our rules, we'll make sure that your applications that are earning you millions of dollars per month, or maybe per day even, those applications will always stay highly available if you follow our rules. And since those guys are the best, so companies definitely follow their rules. Okay, so okay guys, this is ABC we're talking about, and then there are many other features here. If we are understanding for the interview point of view, then we will really survive in the market. So those of you who are about to give the exam for VMware, or those of you who are preparing, my salute to you guys who are preparing for the VMware exam. I will now try to ask the Humber College to give you the vouchers for the exam. That's 70% discount vouchers. So I'll try to check that. How can this be available for you? So you could give the exam of VCP, and I'm sure every one of you will be able to pass. So let's go ahead. And there's that VMware EVC here. And then if you go further down here, there's that VM host groups and VM host rules. Now, what are these? So VM host groups and VM host rules are that if we go for, so I'm going to explain that now. So what is VM to VM Affinity? So VM to VM Affinity is, so let me just put that in proper. So this is a heading. Okay, so VM to VM Affinity, or affinity rules. Normally it is, I said VM to VM Affinity, but normally it is called affinity rules. So I'll put it here. So the first rule is VM to VM Affinity. And these are called affinity rules. And why are they very important with DRS, especially with DRS? Especially when you put DRS on off the leash. Wow, what does that mean? Especially when you put DRS off the leash. Off the leash means that it's free to do anything it wants, or which just means that you put it on fully automated and fully aggressive mode. So it just keeps on migrating the machines for best performance. You don't have to worry about that. So affinity rules. What are the affinity rules here? First rule is VM to VM affinity. Second rule is VM to VM Anti Affinity. So VM to VM Anti Affinity. So that would be Anti Affinity. And then there is VM to Host Affinity. So VM to Host Affinity and Anti Affinity of that too, right? So then it's VM to Host Anti Affinity. Anti Affinity. Now it is too much Netflix. So okay, what are those, and what's the big deal with them? So, and we're gonna do the lab for that too. So the first thing is that VM to VM Affinity just means that both VMs, if needed to be migrated, must land on the same host wherever they are migrated. They must stay together wherever they are migrated. They must stay together. So what does that mean? And why, in what situation would you want to go for it, right? So if we have another diagram here, so if there are two hosts here, and the two hosts are going for, so there's a virtual machine here, these are the physical hosts, and then there are two virtual machines here. So these whole virtual machines, whenever DRS migrates them because of degradation of performance on the current host, they must stay together on whichever other host they have to be put on, or migrated on, or vMotioned on. So can you tell me quickly, in what situation would you want two VMs to stay together at all times? In what type of application? What type of application you would deploy inside the VMs here that would require that these two virtual machines must stay together wherever they are migrated to whichever host they are migrated. Anyone can answer that? So which kind of applications? Okay, Mayar says web server. Okay, if you put two web servers here, so those two web servers, if they are together, they are migrated, so they should stay together. And why? So database and application, Mahmoud says, Shalendra says database servers, Adi says database. So two database servers should be together. DB and app. Okay, DB and app. That could be also together, but the thing is, guys, if they are on separate machines, their performance will be affected. So if you are offering LBFO, so if you're offering LBFO here, and I hope we know that what is LBFO here. So that is, anyone knows what is LBFO? Anyone knows what's LBFO? Nobody knows LBFO. Oh, that's strange. How come nobody knows LBFO? Okay, Arivella says load balancing. Then UFO, FO. Okay. Failover, exactly. So Jack and Arivella said half of the answer. So Jack and Arivella, you can just apply for an interview together. You can answer first half of the question, and the other one can answer other half, and distribute the salary between both. And 25% of that would be mine because I gave you that idea. Okay, so load balancing. So there's load balancing. There's no balancing and failover, exactly as you said. So if you're offering this load balancing specifically, so you would go for, so I'm not saying that LBFO full would be offered. If you're offering this load balancing here, then yeah, it makes sense that load will be balanced between the two machines that are on the same host. If one machine is in one host, second is on the 200th host, then it would be kind of the distribution would be a bit slower. But for failover, this is not a favorable scenario. This is not the best scenario. Why? Both machines should be together. So failover is not recommended for this kind of configuration. Can you tell me why? Failover is not. Yeah. Failover is not recommended for this kind of situation where two machines are together. Can you tell me why? Why failover is not recommended but load balance is recommended? You can say it on the mic as well, or you can type. So why load balancing is recommended but failover is not recommended?
Because if the house is shut down, both machines will go, and we don't have failover.
Exactly. So Edis also says they should be different locations. Exactly. Very good. So for the failover, the two virtual machines should be on different hosts, right? And if one host goes down, then the other machine, the end users will connect to the other machine. So that would be very, very, you have to really make sure then what are you configuring there. LBFO is nice to say that, but what is your logic of will LB side work, then FO side will also work or not, right? So you have to check what are you configuring there. You should be sharp there. The company will be trusting you with their millions of dollars of investment. So you have to be sharp when you're configuring all that, right? But that is what we're talking about, VM to VM affinity, right? So that is VM to VM.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
That when I will consider transferring these machines to the other host, will consider the resources for both machines, or if any one of the machine will not have the resource, it will transfer both the machines.
So if the other machine does not have meet the resources, first of all, both machines should have equal virtual hardware. Second thing is, yes, if there are no resources or less resources on the host, DRS will simply put it to the best available host. And if it's not there, or suppose none of the host has enough RAM, it will not be Vmotion then. Or otherwise, it has to Vmotion to a better machine or not Vmotion at all. These are the only two choices of DRS.
It will take both machines in the consideration, not only
It has
one.
to, exactly. If we put this, it has to consider both, definitely. It cannot consider anyone. And we're going to be configuring that now to know how to configure VM to VM Affinity for two virtual machines. But yes, it has to configure both, consider both. Okay, so then what about VM to VM Anti Affinity? That's, and that would be obviously the other side of it. So two VMs cannot be on the same host, and DRS must, if needed to Vmotion, keep them separate at any cost. It has to keep them separate. That's it. So in what scenario you would have VM to VM Anti Affinity? That's a easy one, right? In what scenario you would have VM to VM? Okay, first is failover. What kind of application would you put there? Because you have to decide you're about to put anti-affinity or affinity. So obviously virtual machines are never empty. They're always having some kind of application. So what kind of application will you put there? What kind of role that will be playing that you have to keep them separate at all times? So Ari says mirroring. Oh, very good, very good. So mirroring, guys, mirroring or there is a feature here called FT, fault tolerance. That feature also is active passive. So whenever your machines have to have this configuration, one is active and the other is standby or passive, or as you said, failover. So standby or passive. So in that case, yes, redundancy, replication. So when this is configured, exactly, these machines can never be on one host. You have to keep them. So suppose there are two machines, one is active, one is passive. You have to actually come down here to the rules of affinity rules, and you have to configure the two virtual machines there to be separate on a separate host, and even on a separate database. That is up to you manually, but DRS is all concerned about they must not be on the same host. They have to be on separate host. So definitely when it is active passive, they must not be on the same host. That's the scenario. Now pretty much every application that has active passive will have to go through this. So databases or web servers or print servers, whichever are going for active passive configuration, right? So sometimes if it is active configuration, so both are active, suppose then what do you do? This is active as well. Both are actually, what does that mean? The end users are connecting to both, right? So can you also consider giving them VM to VM affinity instead of anti affinity? Would that, yeah, that's load balancing. That is load balancing, active. So the load will be balanced on both machines. In that case, now you can consider in that case anti affinity, and you can consider here affinity as well. Anti affinity, why? So if they are always separate, so at least if one host goes down, the other one will still keep on going if they are together and the host goes down. But there are some unique scenarios or lesser amount of scenarios where the machines need to be on one host all the time. Now there could be another scenario for the VM to VM affinity if both machines have a software that requires GPU, right? Now that is a scenario of the next feature as well. But if both require GPU and you have very limited hosts for GPU, or you have just one host for GPU, right? So a GPU is graphical processing unit. it's for cryptocurrency or for AutoCAD application, big graphics application, animation. So in that case, whichever hosts have GPU, they will only be going to that host, right? So Memo says Anti Affinity will be better. Yeah, it can be as well. So Edible says but we have to consider the cost and resource use. Exactly. So the cost and resource use, how much aggressive these applications are, how much of CPU and RAM and disk they are consuming, how much of IOPS of the disk they are consuming, we have to keep into account all that. Suppose they are really consuming a lot of RAM, and if they are both put on a host that will be overwhelmed with providing a lot of RAM and will start giving right away degraded performance. In that case, you have to be very careful what if you're putting it on VM to VM Affinity, also Anti Affinity. So the main thing is that what type of application is there, and you know what VM to VM Affinity does and what VM to VM Anti Affinity does. So then there is another one, and that is called VM to Host Affinity and Anti Affinity, and that might be clear to you right away now that a VM must not leave the a specific host. So VM to host affinity would be that the VM. Okay, so what's up? Scenario for where you will have VM to host affinity. The host is this hypervisor, and the VM must not leave the hypervisor. In what situation? Okay, so Eddie says OS. So no, normally they are on hypervisor, right? So this is just ESXi hypervisor here, ESXi hyper. So there's no OS that they're depending on. Inside OS, kinda, yeah. I mean, like, how is it related to hardware? Because now you're going for virtual machine to a hardware combination. So in what situation you cannot afford to have this virtual machine move to any other host, or to only that host, or only a particular host, right? So VM to host affinity. Remote RDS is remote desktop services. So like the logic of having VM to host affinity would be that the virtual machine cannot leave this specific host. So and host provides what? Hardware. So VM cannot leave this particular hardware. Host has what? A hypervisor. Under the hypervisor is what? Hardware, right? So the virtual machine cannot leave this particular. Suppose it's a CPU. So some specific hardware resources required. Exactly. Addy says database. Yes, that is possible. Mariam says if VM use disk on host. Okay, that's possible. That is called RDM. And then Amanda says raw data store. If you want, if the VM has to use the local storage, which in virtualization is kind of not recommended unless that storage is too special for that particular VM. So normally the scenarios would be where you have a specific CPU here with the GPU capabilities there, graphical processor unit, or you have a lot of RAM on this particular host, and if this VM is moved to any other host which has kind of lesser RAM, which is shared with everyone as well, so the application inside that VM might go down. So you have to make sure that virtual machine is using, suppose its main would be the GPU, main scenario would be that this processor hosts a GPU processing unit as well, or GPU features as well, or this CPU has advanced features, or it has a huge RAM that any other host does not have. So any kind of hardware that is really that machine cannot work properly without that hardware. So then you would go for VM to host affinity. So VM to host affinity rule. And so the opposite of that would be what is the circumstance for VM to host anti affinity. So that was a scenario for anti affinity. This was VM to host affinity. So yeah, so like want any special card. So what would be then the scenario for anti affinity? Should be easy now, right? So a VM must not be placed on a particular host. What would be the reason for that? Anti Affinity, VM to host. So consumes a lot of resources. Yeah, that would be a scenario there. That the virtual machine cannot be migrated to, suppose fourth host has just 32 GB RAM and 3 virtual machines, non-critical virtual machines are already there. So you cannot move a database virtual machine that requires minimum 64 GB RAM and a total of 32 GB RAM with shared virtual machines is on this host, suppose. So you can then make that, hey DRS, I'm making a VM to host Anti Affinity, and that is, and I'm putting this host here that is 32 GB. So this VM can never be vMotioned onto this particular host, right? So hopefully we understand that as well, that affinity rules. So VM to VM affinity, they must stay together. Anti affinity, they must not stay together. The 6 foot distance nowadays, they're saying. So they must have minimum of 6 foot distance, social distancing, right? So anti affinity rule would be social distancing as well, right? Okay, I'm just kidding. So here, let's go ahead and try to check how do we really get to configure that, right? Now, where are these rules and how to configure them? And let's check it out. Let's test it as well. Does it work? So if we are on server 2 here, server 2 here, and we are in Tor cluster, we're in configure, and then we go down. Then there is VM host groups and there is VM host rules. These are going to offer affinity and anti-affinity rules. And since we understand hopefully these rules, so let's first go for VM host groups and create some groups there. So what is the purpose of groups? We're going to check that. So let's click the add button here for VM/host groups. Let's click the add button here. Once I click the add button here, so you can see the types here: VM group, host group. If you're grouping a large amount of VMs, a large amount of hosts there. Oh, okay. So guys, if you see this kind of error, could not connect to vSphere web client, contact your administrator to fix this issue. So this means that the browser just wanted to kick you out and wanted you to log back in yourself. Sometimes you just press OK and refresh, it's okay. Otherwise, it kicks you out. Browsers do that from time to time. So if I press OK and cancel out, and if I don't want it to pop up again, so I'm going to refresh myself. Refresh it anyway and click advanced and proceed to server 2 because it might come again. So better refresh after that. And one day, Monday or Sunday, it's gonna reload. There you go. Woohoo! Yay! Okay, so let's go ahead and oh yeah, now I see the message from Kushal on WhatsApp. No samosas today. Hey. And okay, so yeah, I wanted to go for my favorite samosas on Taj Mahal, and then this COVID-19 just scared me to death. Okay. Anyway, since you mentioned samosas, now I have to get it tomorrow. Okay, so let's click add here. So VM host groups, and let's click add. So you already actually added. So let's go for VM group here. So the purpose of this is, suppose we can go for sales dash VMs. Suppose there are sales department machines, and they have a group there. Now let's put sales dash VMs, and then we have still selected here VM group, which is okay, and then let's click add and add 2 random machines there, right? So add 2 random machines. Let's click add, and you got 4 machines there. So, or any number of machines, we can randomly just go for 2 machines, pretending that they are the sales department machines, right? So select 2 random machines and press OK. And OK as well. Go ahead and OK, because we need to create that group. Just to know how to create a group, we don't need that group, but we just are exploring features here. So then we go for add again. So let's go click host group here. That's the second one. So this is, suppose you have, we have just put 2 hosts here. So suppose you have 10, 20, 30, 80 hosts here. It's a big environment. Um, so it's a big environment there, right? So in that case, we will just go for, suppose it's GPU dash hosts. Just pretending that, oh, you want to group a host, okay, high, 64, above 64 GB RAM hosts, or GPU based hosts, or storage, local huge storage hosts. So you can just whatever is the specialty of those hosts. So when you are selecting some machines to be attached to some hosts, so the meaningful name should guide you right away. Oh yeah, I'm looking for a lot of RAM. What group of hosts have a lot of RAM? Oh, these group of hosts all have 1 TB RAM. Even 1 TB alone would be like $8,000 or $10,000, right? Alone, just the RAM. So imagine the host price of the host, right? So GPU hosts. Suppose this is the criteria, and let's click add button here, and let's go for only one host because we don't have a long list of hosts here. So I'm just going for E601 just to show that, okay, that's all we added. Otherwise, normally. So let's press OK. So GPU hosts here, host group, that's how we create. Suppose you had 20, 30 hosts, you could have added just all of them. Let's press OK. Now, what is the use of that? That's what we need to see next. So the first thing is sales VMs, GPU hosts. And so if we go further, again, back down, what was the other option? First option was VMs/host groups. If you want to group them together, you can do so. And we tried to know how to do that. This is so easy, right? So, but we go for rules. Now, this is where all the action is. And you have to be very careful what number of machines you're going for. VM to VM Affinity and Anti Affinity, VM to Host Affinity and Anti Affinity, right? So if you go to the VM and host rules here, then you click add here, and once you click add in the rules, then what are the options here? You can see drop down here. First of all, keep virtual machines together, separate virtual machines to hosts, and virtual machines to virtual machines. So now these are some of the options there, and 6.5 has this virtual machines to virtual machines also option there. But let's go for keep virtual machines together. If we keep virtual machines together, so we can just call it Vm-2-Vm-Affinity, Vm to Vm Affinity. And now we have to actually put 2 other machines because we're going to test that too, right? So let's click add after we put Vm-2-Vm-Affinity, and selection type is keep virtual machines together. Click add. The other 2 machines that we did not select it yet, 3 and 4, let's select them and press OK, right? So once we press OK here, so now we know that these machines better be together, and that's what we're going to test. We're going to migrate, once we're done with all these, then we're going to migrate one of these machines to another host, and we're going to wait for DRS to do its job. DRS normally checks every 5 minutes, analyzes all the rules every 5 minutes, and if whenever it checks that, it will simply migrate it back to the same host. Sometimes it takes time because we have limited hardware, and sometimes it is done. For the lucky ones, it just does it right away. As soon as you hold Vmotion to the other host, then DRS kicks in and tries to Vmotion it back to the same host, citing these rules here. So press OK here for keeping virtual machines together. Now, then we click add here. Now we are running out of virtual machines here, pretty much. So if we go for separate virtual machines, let's click that separate virtual machines, and that would be Vm-2-Vm-Anti Affinity. So now that is an Anti Affinity rule. Vm to Vm Affinity was there and separate virtual machines. Now we can just click add here again. So remember that the first 2 were grouped together, and we're not gonna actually test those anyway. So one from this group and one from the other group, right? So these two are having affinity while these two are grouped together. So if we say, hey, keep them separate all the time, so yeah, okay, it makes sense, right? And when we remember that when we put these two in the group, that's not an affinity rule, right? It's just a group of machines. And I'm gonna show you the next option where you can use the groups as well. So these two are grouped together, but they are not into VM to VM affinity rule. They are just grouped together. So there's a difference there, right? So we're just putting this machine better stay away from this machine. Suppose this VM04 has a 64 GB RAM or 128 GB RAM requirement, and VM01 also has 128 GB RAM requirement. If they are together, they will simply take down all the RAM of that host wherever they are together. Suppose that's also a scenario there, right? So in that case, so we're just putting some machines separately just to understand the rules, right? So press OK. Now these guys better stay away. Social distancing. Okay, let's press OK. And then we go again and add. So once we click add here, so then there is that virtual machine to host. As soon as you put that virtual machine to host, and then there's virtual machine to virtual machine. Virtual machines in the VM group sales VMs will be restarted first, which means in the VM group sales VMs will be restarted afterwards. Okay. So anyway, I'm just gonna go for third one first. Third one. So this is calling for, this has both options 2 in 1. Any one you can select. VM-2 VM dash host dash affinity. But on the same page, you can also select anti affinity. Any one you can select. So if I go for VM to VM host affinity, so then it says type virtual machine to host. That's the third one that was selected already. Now it says whatever group we created in the VM host groups back there, that is already selected. We don't have multiple groups here, right? We just have one group. We could have had multiple groups as well. And then we don't have multiple host groups there. So now the options are there. Should run on hosts. If you drop down this, must run on host in group. Then should run on host in group. Then there's must not run on host in group and should not run on host in group. First of all, what's the difference between must and should? So what's the difference between must and should? You can also answer a mic or you can type it. What's the difference between must and should? So there's a first thing, there's a spelling difference, yes. And second thing, oh, okay. So Mayar says must. Must is a must. Exactly, you're right. I totally agree with that. And Tosin says must is compulsory. And okay. Tajinder says must means it is mandatory. Anybody says must is compulsory, should is optional. Okay, there you go. So Kim says must is by law, should is there is small possibility. So Mustafa says strict. Okay. Baba 20 says, sir, please can you start this step all over? Okay. Hey, welcome back. Okay, so Shiva says must is mandatory. Mahmood says must is from Ontario government. Oh, okay. Okay, so so yeah, so I'll just copy that because it's very difficult to write this. So I'm just gonna copy that. Guys, stay there for Baba 20. I'm doing this. So Baba 20, are you looking at this? VM host rules, and then you can click add.
Okay.
And then put this name, and then you drop down and you go for third option.
So I think I have an issue. I think I'll go out of the meeting and join because I think the picture is lagging behind the picture is lagging behind the sound. So I've been confused. I've been wondering, and because what you are saying seems not to correlate with what I'm seeing in the picture. So let me just log out and join the meeting.
Video is freezing. Okay, so
yes,
Sean is saying Sean is saying video is freezing. Video is freezing.
Oh, okay. Because what you are saying is faster than the picture that is appearing, so it's kind of confusing.
Is that for everyone, guys? Everyone, the video is freezing, or just internet at your end? No, Imani says no.
Maybe.
Japinder is not. Mahmood says no. No, not experienced. So guys, it's then.
It's a personal problem. I will just exit and rejoin the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Move closer to your Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'm connecting with the cable. Because I cannot be very near to Wi-Fi. So if you cannot, then connect with a cable if that is a choice for you. But social distance. Baba, you should give oil to your Wi-Fi. Yeah, that too. So, but I'm using a cable, and that cable is like 30 feet, and I'm on the last room, and the other side is the DSL router. So I'm using a very long cable to this room. Okay, so guys, and yeah, so if you're getting the slowness, then move closer to Wi-Fi or use cable. Okay, so Ethernet cable. Not okay. So anyway, so sales VM here should run on host in group and must run. So definitely now, if you select must run, what will happen? So if that host is somehow not available, suppose there's less resources available on that host, less CPU, memory resources, GPU resources are available, so it will not Vmotion, and maybe that is the only host and the must is selected. So that's the only other host that has GPU, and then this host is already unacceptable, but the other host also has less resources, so it will not move there, or it will only move there because you said must. Should is that this GPU based host, suppose, is unacceptably giving bad performance, and the other one has also not that good performance, so it may not decide to go. So it will decide whichever is a good option. If it's a slightly better option, it will still go there, right? If the other one is worse than this one, then it will stop. So anyway, must or should, it's up to you how your host conditions are, and then you decide what to put there, right? So by default is should run on hosts and groups. So this means that this machine, whichever machines are there, wherever they should be running. So VM01, VM02, these two guys must be on server 1. Now, according to that rule, we're saying this GPU host. So remember that we put in this group server 1, ESXi1, sorry. So that ESXi1, they will only be on running on ESXi1 now, right? Oh, actually it should. So again, it's not a must, so there's a hope. With should, there's a hope, right? So Mustafa says, how about if we want single machine to VM to host? Yeah, so in the group, you can add, because if you come to this window here, third one, if you come to the third one, then it has to be a group. It will only use groups now. So you can go to a group, just add one single machine, and then add that group, because it only accepts group. So, okay guys, so should is okay, just to know what it says. So, and then there should not run, must not run. So we understand that either you want it to run on that or you don't want it to run on that. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay guys, so if that is understood and we have configured exactly this way, well, there are not much choices here in terms of choosing the groups. So let's press O and K. So as a virtualization admin, you must know that at one place you have told that in VM to Vm Anti Affinity that VM1 and 4 cannot be in the same host, while in another place, in the third rule, you have said that VM01 should run on ESXi1, but it's not a must. So like we still have flexibility here. So we should not be mixing up rules where same machine is in another rule and same machine is another rule, and they should not be conflicting with each other, right? So you have to be sharp, and when you're configuring that, and that's where your requirement in the suppose you discuss all that in the interview, so that would be impressive, and or if you're making those decisions in the meeting, so you would be discussing all these options there. So if we go for rule number 4, let's click add again. We ran out of machines actually, but let's click add again, and we go down to drop down here, and we go for virtual machines to virtual machines. Select VM group, right? So what does that mean? So virtual machine to virtual machine is that it's going to start. So first restart VMs in VM group, then restart VMs in VM group. Now what does that mean? What has priority to do with anything here? Why would you want to prefer one group to start first and the other group of machines, suppose we had another group of machines, to start second? In what scenario would you use this feature that let this group start first on that host and then this group start second on that same host? In what situation would you use this scenario? Anyone? In what situation you would use first let them start, then the other one let them start? What is the scenario for that? Shiva says dependability. Mayar says related VM DB. Okay. And dependencies, and if you have DNS or DHCP services, and then AD first, then other domain members. Okay, yeah, yeah, like our setup. Okay, so DB and app server, yes. So let first the DB start, then the app server starts. Let first the domain controller start, then others start, or let first the SAN software SAN start and then others start. So exactly, you guys are sharp. So yes, you would be deciding that very easily, that in what scenarios whichever machine has a priority to start, let them start first, or exactly as you said, dependencies. If the others totally depend on that, let the first one start on which others are dependent, right? So that would be virtual machine to virtual machine, and I did not write that, so I'll be writing virtual machine to virtual machine, which is just that's seriously okay. I hate this browser-based OneNote, but anyway. Okay, so here virtual machines to virtual machines, and that is we can just go for the priority of starting is decided here, and VMs are more important VMs started first, and those dependent on these VMs started second. Okay, so we get that idea here, that virtual machines to virtual machines. And now let's get back to our configuration there, where we have already decided. So we have already decided. Okay, so here we don't have to select anything because we don't have two groups of that. You can go ahead and create two groups and then add them there. It's okay. But if we understand the purpose, we're good. So I'm going to cancel out of here because we don't have a second group here. But we understand the purpose of this option, right? So now, guys, how do we test that? Remember that we have VM to VM Affinity, and inside the VM to Affinity, now if you drag it up a little, this one, right? If you drag it up a little, this one. So if we go up a little, so when you select that, there is mention in another window. If I drag down this one as well, I drag down this one, so I can see that how many machines are there. So VM 3 and 4 are part of VM to VM Affinity. Let's just check one affinity rule here to make sure that the affinity rules really work or not, or how long they take to work. So VM 3 and 4 in my case are in VM to VM Affinity. So let's migrate 3 to the other hypervisor, wherever these two guys are right now. Let's migrate 3 to opposite hypervisor. Let's Vmotion the 3 to opposite hypervisor, and yeah, like sit back and enjoy the show then. So Mariam says, I was wondering if you could please use the full screen. Oh, sure. Okay, so here, exactly, you're right. So now here, VM to VM Affinity and the two VMs here, and so 3 and 4. Let's go to 3, let's go to 4. On the left side, can you see both? So let's go left click 3. In my case, they're all powered on. I hope they're powered on in your case as well. So I'm gonna left click 3, and it shows me, because I'm on the summary tab, and select the machine and summary. If you see that, so I can see that it's on E6I1. I'm going to go for 4 and check where it is. E6I2. Are you kidding me? So, okay. Now, Anti Affinity. Oh, sorry. We put these guys to Anti Affinity, not Affinity. Oh, yeah. They're not at. Really? Let me go back. Tor cluster. I just mentioned that. Okay. Rules. And in the affinity, so who are in anti-affinity? Oh yeah, these 4 and 1 are in affinity. So VM to VM affinity is 3 and 4. So it says the listed 2 virtual machines must run on the same host. Okay, mine are already on different hosts. So this means I should sit back and enjoy the show. Also, one more thing is the my VM4 is still part of the other anti-affinity rule as well, where 1 and 4 cannot be on the same. There's a conflict here right now. If I go to 1 here, is 1 is on 2 and 4 is on 2. Seriously? Everything is going against the concepts here. So 1 and 4 should be on different host if the affinity rule works, and 3 or 4 should be on the same host. So 3 is on 1 in my case, 4 is on 2, which is defying my 3 is on 1 and 4 is on still 2. Okay, so I'm waiting for DRS to kick in because it takes 5 minutes for it to analyze. Okay, so Mahmoud says mine are on the same host. Okay, you're already good. And 3 and 4 are on the same host. Okay, and Tosin says 3 and 4 on the same host. So guys, if it is on the same host, Vmotion it, any one of them, to another host. Mine are actually on different hosts and I'm waiting for DRS to kick in. So 3 and 4 could be on same host, 3 and 4. So guys, do we remember how to migrate? So you can go ahead and go for 3 here and select this migrate. Those who have the machines in the same, right? Because if it takes time, it's also okay. We can just go for the next topic and then come back and check that. So I'm going for 3 here, just to show you. In my case, 3 and 4 on different hosts, so that's what I wanted. In your case, if it's not, just follow me to migrate the 3 to the other hypervisor. Yeah. Okay, so Javinder says that this operation would violate a virtual machine affinity and anti-affinity rule. Javinder says on switching on VM01. Oh, okay, exactly. So VM, guys, let's just remove the confusion here, right? So I'm going to go to Tor cluster, where it is configure and VM host rules. We understand what is anti-affinity, right? Right now we don't need to make confusion. So I'm going to remove. So anti-affinity, if you go down here, see this? If you select the anti-affinity up there, if I go down to the virtual machines, let's just remove the machines out of anti-affinity. So we can have just one VM to VM affinity rule configured and tested. So if any one affinity rule works, all other affinity rule works, and you have already understood what others do. So I'm going to go for anti-affinity, and whether or not it's making confusion or not, I'm just removing both machines from here. Cannot delete all members of rule. A rule must at least have 2 members. Okay, so this means that I have to delete the anti-affinity itself. I'm just clicking the anti-affinity because I cannot remove a member one by one. The next decision is I'm just deleting the anti-affinity rule because I know what it is. I don't need it. So I'm removing or deleting. I've already deleted anti-affinity. Second thing is I'm deleting the VM to VM host affinity because I understand what it is. I don't need it. So I'm going to select this VM to VM host affinity and delete that too. I just want to keep VM to VM affinity rule. Other than that, I'm removing all other rules, right? Because we understand what they are, but we don't need them now. I'm going to delete the second one as well. Only VM to VM affinity rule is there, so we could test it. And it's always the rule, keep it simple, right? The rule is keep it simple. So because we are trying to understand and we understand other concepts, let's keep it simple. So now if VM to VM affinity rule is there, I'm going to refresh here. This one, refresh, right? And just refresh it a couple of million times. That's it. Okay, 3 times. Now I need to just make sure that Vm to Vm Affinity rule is, so I'm going to go to 3, which is on 1, and 4, which is still on 2. So in my case, yes, that's what I wanted to do. And those two are still on separate hypervisors. But for those, it is not on separate hypervisors. Let's now start again. E6i03 and migrate, or 4, whichever you want. So migrate away from whichever host they are on. So my 3 is on 1, E6i01. So change compute resource only. I'm just showing you, you should remember how to migrate, but I'm just showing you if in case you don't remember. And I don't need to migrate, so I'm going to cancel out at the end. I'm just taking you there. So change compute resource only, next. And host. So mine is already on 1, so I'm just going to click 2. There are compatibility issues. Now, since I deleted that, maybe it did not get that. So I'm going to show details here. Unable to access, lawns. Okay, guys, the lawns are down. I should have clicked the rescan. So if you are going ahead, go ahead, next, finish, and simply just migrate away. I hope you know, it's just next, finish. Vmotion we did the week before. So go ahead and do that. In my case, I'm just gonna discover the shared disks or lawns. So SXI1, I'm gonna go there. In my case, I'm just
So it's on the same host. We don't have to do it, or we should do it.
So we have to migrate it to a separate host, other host, right? So go ahead and next, finish. Okay, rescan is good now. So all the lawns are now the lawns are okay. And I'm gonna click Tor cluster. I'll refresh it again. In my case, did DRS wake up or DRS is still sleeping? Okay, the DRS is still sleeping. So I'll give it some time. We are not at the best recommended hardware configurations, so everything might take time. So if you have migrated away one VM to the other host, what are we testing? We are testing VM to Vm Affinity. If you migrate away your one virtual machine to another host and the other virtual machine to another host is already there, so will DRS automatically Vmotion the two machines or any one machine to the same host? That's what we're testing. I hope everyone understands what we're doing. If I go to Tor cluster, and the rule here that I configured is rule here that we configured is VM to Vm Affinity. So that's why I'm saying migrate away your virtual machine to the other host. So VM to Vm Affinity, which means that both VMs should be on the same host. So this rule could be tested. So just migrate away and just wait there, like just keep it that way. And okay, so Memo says my recent task shows migrated but nothing happened. So recent tasks were migrated, then refresh on top. Okay, so yeah, it's a matter of time. We should just be a little patient about refresh. So we should refresh and try to check. So okay, guys, if you understand what we're doing, so keep it there and Tor cluster, and you can refresh, select Tor cluster and refresh. But we don't really have to wait all the time. We can go for a next feature here as well, while then we're going to check back again that did VM to Vm Affinity work or not. So in my case, 3 is on 1 still, 4 is on 2 still. So they're still on separate hosts, and whenever DRS decides to wake up, so it will just move back the machines, right? So just make sure that your machines are on different hosts. Oh, there's some movement here. I didn't do anything. See this? I didn't initiate anything, but oh, that's 2. I didn't do anything on 2. What happened to 4 here? Okay, 2 and 4. So if I go to 3, 3 is on 1. Ah, 4 is on 1. Woohoo! Yay! Yay! Okay, so yeah. So in my case, yeah. So it was a bit of patience, but it works. 4 is on 1. Remember that 4 was on 2. Now it is on 1. Yay! So Vm to Vm Affinity works. Woohoo! Yay! Celebration! Okay, so now for others it didn't work. Don't worry, because I was also expecting a result very fast, but it doesn't work that way. The rules are okay, the concepts are okay. This pretty much means just leave them there, and after some time, okay, Memos also work. Woohoo! Yay! She was also work. Okay, Gabriel's also work, and perfect. So Vm to Vm Affinity works. This means Anti Affinity, Vm to Vm Anti Affinity, and then Vm to Host Affinity and Anti Affinity, and Virtual Machine to Virtual Machine. They will all work as well. If one of them works, all works, right? So that's very good to know, and hopefully we understand what we're doing. And let's go ahead. That's a very, very, very good news there. So now, guys, we need to go for next configurations, but now if we right click on the Tor cluster itself, let's go ahead and right click the Tor cluster. So what you see here is a lot of options there, right? So there is option for new virtual machine, then there's option for new vApp, and then there's an option for new resource pool and deploy Ovf template. So these are some common options that we use from time to time. There are tickets created, so let's try to check out those options here. So first one is new resource pool. In fact, first one is vApp, but let's go for new resource pool first, right? So if you know swimming, then we're going to go ahead with new resource pool. Okay, so let's click that new resource pool, and what is the purpose of that resource pool? And that's just one screen there on resource pool. So what does it do? So in resource pool, what happens is that we can, so now we're going for resource pooling, and okay, resource pooling. So resource pool is used. So it is used. It is used where we need to reserve the virtual hardware, right? It is used where we need resource pool tree. Okay, resource pool tree. Where did I heard that before? Resource pool tree. Okay, so it is used where we need to reserve the virtual hardware or put a limit to it. And what kind of the only virtual hardware that we can reserve or limit in a resource pool are CPU and RAM. So in virtualization, CPU and RAM are the gold. Just like gold is the highest, value. Gold has the highest value there. So the virtual, CPU and RAM are the most contended resources, the most sought after resources or fought after resources as well. So they fight. The virtual machines fight during peak hours. Hey, I need more RAM. Hey, I need more CPU. No, I need more RAM and CPU. So what happens is that if you did not put some reservations that hey, this machine is critical, all other non-critical, can you just stay back? My critical machines need some more RAM. So you need to reserve some RAM for the critical VMs. That's where you go for resource pools there, right? So if we want to reserve RAM or CPU for critical VMs, reserve RAM or CPU for critical VMs, then reserver. Then we use ResourcePool, right? Simple. But what are the conditions there? What are the options there? Let's explore those features. So if you want to reserve RAM or CPU for critical VMs, then we use RP, right? ResourcePool. All right. So let us go ahead and check it out. So what we do here is, if you're on this page, so you can see that there's CPU there and there's memory here, right? So if you select this arrow here, so and then this arrow as well, so now you see that this is just CPU and RAM that we're talking about. So first of all, we can go up there and give it a name there. Suppose it's sales DEPT VM and then dash RP. So we are creating a resource pool for the sales department virtual machine, right? Sales department virtual machines. So and then let's talk about that CPU and RAM. So let's expand CPU and then talk about first CPU only while memory is still collapsed. So CPU has shares, has reservation type, and limit. So what are those guys there, those options there? So the thing is that if you have these suppose you have a virtual machine and set of virtual machines here, and you are putting them in this resource pool. So first we create a resource pool, then we drag virtual machines inside or move virtual machines inside the resource pool. Just like you had to drag virtual machines inside a cluster, so you can drag virtual machines inside a resource pool as well. So shares is the priority. Suppose you go for shares, you can put create two resource pools here, and RP1 has resource pool 1 has 4,000 shares here, suppose, right? And resource pool 2 is for marketing machines, or resource pool 2 is still the sales department machine but for non-critical machines, right? So this is for critical machines, RP1. RP2 is for non-critical machines. So you put the RP2 shares as 3,000. So 4,000 and 3,000. Which will have more priority? In IT, how it works? Lower the number, higher the priority, right? Lower the number, higher the priority. But so when you give more shares there, it is actually here more priority. So the thing is that if you give 4,000 here, so it will then give overall, this again I'm saying overall priority more to this group of machines, and comparatively all other machines which are out of the resource pool or which are in the other resource pool will get the second priority. So when we say overall priority, it will give, so it will first ask, hey, okay, let me attend to you first. How much CPU and RAM have you reserved for you, so I can arrange that for you, sir. So this, we can say the elite group or VIP group here, that RP1, the more RAM is reserved. So first to give priority, and this means that the hypervisor will say, oh, okay, the cluster will tell hypervisor, hey, hypervisor, do you see the resource pool here? And I was like, yes, sir. And can you follow the protocol major? So resource pool being a major says, yes, sir, sir, yes, sir. And goes for, oh, okay, you guys have more priority. Let me just listen to you first. So that's what shares are. But reservation and limit. So reservation is minimum what RAM you need to give. So a virtual machine, suppose this virtual machine actually needs 64 minimum 64 GB RAM it needs, and this machine needs 32 GB RAM minimum. So you reserve that RAM, right? So you put 64 or 32 RAM here, and in the resource pool. So now the host is obliged to provide, it must provide this much RAM first, because you give full priority here to by increasing the shares here. So first the host asks, okay, what do you want? Then it sees, oh, reservation, you have put 70% of, we're talking about CPU right now. Oops, we're talking about CPU. So 64, and when we say CPU, so it would be, suppose you're saying that, hey, 60% of CPU we need here. We are the elites here. So can you give us 60% of your CPU? Thank you very much. So you would just say that. So reservation will be 60%. So the host has to provide this much CPU to only those machines which are added to this resource group, resource pool. Another thing is limit. So reservation is minimum. Minimum, you have to provide this, not less than that. Unacceptable if you go less than that. And limit is maximum. So okay, if they are critical machines, normally I will not go for a limit, right? Why? Because if they are requiring more CPU than what is minimum reserved for them, if they require more, because they are critical machines, so they are running your business, they are earning you millions of dollars, so there would be a good reason that they would be requiring more RAM. So if you put a cap on that, if you put limit there, hey, maximum you cannot go more than 80% on this, right? So if you put a cap there, now there are so many users connecting to this, and when the 80% usage is reached, any extra users that are coming after 80% will be having degradation of performance, or they will be denied access, and the rest of the users will also have a degradation of performance. But the extra users will be denied access because CPU more than 80% is not allowed. So okay, so limit is maximum, that you put a cap on that, which is not recommended for putting it on a critical machine. But sometimes critical machine also go rogue, which just means that, oh, I need as much CPU today, yeah. So in that case, you won't let these machines go more than 90%. After that, it's 100%. So at least 10% RAM CPU should be there for the host to breathe as well, right? So 60% of reservation is minimum at least this much give, and maximum limit is maximum at least maximum is this. Put a cap on that. That is maximum. So what is then reservation type? Reservation type is, suppose you used up your reservation here. You used up the 60%. Now you need more. If this option is selected, you can ask from the host and cluster some more RAM. If this option is not selected, that's all you get. If you need more, you will not get more. So you want to ask for more, then you want them to ask for more, then keep this option selected. If you don't care that, hey, I've given you enough RAM or CPU already, and I don't allow you to ask for more after that. So cluster is not obliged to give you more. So if you uncheck this option, right? So I hope you understand that what's going on here. So this would be expandable, would be that Expandable 3 was a very good movie actually. Expendables 3, right? All the old guys. Okay, so expandable here would be that so selected. Oh man, I'm writing this. Okay, I'll just put that diagram as a copy. Selected can ask for more. Ask for more, right? So opposite or unselected cannot ask for more, right? So that would be it. Can ask for more. Okay, so an unselected cannot ask for more. So we get the opposite of that too, right? So I'm gonna print screen here and put that in. Hopefully it's updating on your side. OneNote. Picture is being put in. So this is the same story for memory as well. If you click the memory here, so first of all, if you go to normal and then suppose you click high here, right? High is 8,000. If you go for custom, then you can just put. So you can see that high shares just mean high priority. So if you increase the number, that is high priority. If you decrease the number, that is low priority. That's against the IT rules overall. Normally lower the number, higher the priority, but here it's higher the number, higher the priority. And reservation is that you can go for 0 megahertz and total it's showing you can ask for 2 gigahertz. So if we go for 1024 reserved, right? If you put 1024 megahertz here, or if you want to go for gigahertz, just 1 gigahertz out of 2. So this means that minimum half of the CPU, 50% of the CPU will be given to whichever machines are there in this resource pool, right? So if we go down to reservation and put a cap here, maybe we don't want to put a cap here, and then there is reservation for RAM as well, and you can go for MB here, total of 536 maximum reservation. Wow, already I have a very brutal amount of memory allowed here, so I can just go for 512. Seriously, I'm just putting some RAM there, but the main thing is, do we understand the options here? So, and then expandable, suppose I uncheck that, so this means you cannot ask for more, or check that you can ask for more, right? So 512 is the reservation or minimum amount of RAM, this much, and maximum you can go for. So normally critical machines just keep it unlimited, and for non-critical machines you can put a cap on that. Hey, you cannot go more than that, right? So critical, expandable, as well as unlimited for limit and reservation type. So that's recommended, but you're the administrator, you will decide according to the situation and circumstances there. So I hope we understand this as well, CPU and memory, and press OK. Once you press OK, so recent task says resource pool created, and on the left side the resource pool is created. So this is resource pool created here. So what we need to do is to understand what else we can do. You can just drag 3 and 4 or move 3 and 4 into the resource pool. So first of all, 3 I'm going to go for, right click, and there's a move to here, right? There's a third, and that is right click and then click move to. That's a proper way to do it. And the fourth I'll just drag just for fun, right? And host and clusters, Tor cluster, and then there's that resource pool, right? So you select Tor DC, then you select host and clusters, then you select Tor cluster, and then you select this sales department VM RP and press OK. And then 3 is inside the resource pool, getting those reservations now. So on the 4, I'm just gonna drag it carefully on right on top of the resource pool here and drop it. Yay! And it is inside. So if we expand now the resource pool, the virtual machines are inside. If you collapse, you can't see them. If you expand, you can see them. Right? Oh, repeat it again. Okay, so we were talking about first that what is affinity group. So affinity group is that you have affinity and anti-affinity there. And okay, you want me to start from the start, or okay, maybe bad joke. So yeah, so you have to, I mean, start from where? I mean, like from, you want to drag it inside, or you want, okay, so here Tor cluster, right click, and in Tor cluster you can go for new resource pool like this, right? New resource pool, and then you just put some name there, which is sales department VM RP, or some name there, sales department, that's it, right? And pretty much we put some random numbers there which are just for discussion, but otherwise you can go ahead and press OK here and drag the 2 machines inside. But reservation here we put just less than that, 1024 here, and here we put minimum RAM of 512, right? But if you don't put anything, it doesn't matter, because we're not pretty much using it, we're just understanding what it is. So, and then press OK after putting some RAM here, and reservation and reservation. Okay, so it's okay, right? So I'll go ahead. Munir is not here to ask for break. Oh, okay. So since Munir is not here asking for break, so let's not have a break. This means Munir has to be here to ask for break, or you can tell him to come here, just connect here, leaving his training for just 2 minutes and say break time, and then go back to his training, right? So then we can officially have that break. So guys, let's I'm gonna cancel out for here, but you can just press OK and then drag the machines inside. Imani, then drag the machines inside. like right click and move to, and then put it inside the machine. So okay guys, 7:49. When it is 7:40:10, then we're gonna have a break starting. So 7:49 right now.
Question, just postpone break for 1 minute.
Postpone break for 1 minute. Oh.
Yeah, because I need to ask something that
Sure.
it is that's resource pool is for the cluster, so it will combine all the hosts together, or it's depend on the host by host.
So it will be total resources of the cluster exactly. But if you create this resource pool outside of cluster, then it will not be total resources. Whichever host you created on, then it will be that host resources. Right now it's cluster resources. Yes, you're right. And Mariam says,
so it can be only one host also, right? If it's outside the cluster.
Yes, it can be. No, within the cluster it is the full cluster resources. But if I drag it from here outside of the cluster into the Tor DC, normally we are able to create it on Tor DC right now because it is having some machines here, so it's not dragging. So normally we can create it inside the Tor DC, but connect it to a host then. So if I click the summary here, normally it is attached to a host. So if I click the resource pool and summary here, it's still loading. Yeah, it's using the full cluster resources actually. The full cluster. Normally, outside of cluster, you can create a resource pool so it uses the resources of a host. Inside a cluster, it will use the resources of a cluster. So that's it.
Sorry, I have a question. In this pool, does all the resources share between these two machines, or each of them have this resource, minimum resource?
Overall share. They all share. It's not separate.
Overall share.
So we normally give a lot of resources then to the resource pool. And Mariam is saying any relationship between VM host groups and resource pool VM01 and VM02 was in sales group. So that's also a good question. Resource pool is just telling the cluster, hey cluster, please have make these machines have make the host arrange this much memory, while the Vm Affinity rule or Anti Affinity rule say that keep them separate. So wherever they are, they will be given priority for RAM and CPU because they are also part of the resource pool, while the affinity group or anti-affinity group might keep them separate. So they separately work and there is no conflict between the two. Right? Okay guys, so break now. So 7:52 here, and since Munir is not there, so let's continue. Now next topic is okay, so no, and 7:53, so let's take a break now. So we're gonna come back at 8:10. Yay! The class starts sharp at 8:10. Please be there.
So it should be 8:15, sir.
Okay, there's a 8:13 and there is a 8:15. So, hey, what happened here?
Just go for 8:15, sir.
Okay, 8:15. Class starts 8:15. Welcome. All right. All right, so hopefully we are all there and it's 8:15. So let us go ahead. Okay, there's the I am here. Yay! Okay, so me too, me three. Okay, so now let's get going with the next features. So we understand that, okay, resource pool, we create there, we put the machines inside, and then we go ahead and try to install, configure the shares and limit and reservation of the pool. So when I send you the online quiz, so it will be whenever you have to whenever you start, it will be fixed time, and it will be you can't go back in the quiz, and then you have to finish it within that one session, right? And it will be random questions, so randomized, so when you start, and there's a fixed date there that you have to finish that. So I'll be creating quiz, so it will have all the questions from whatever we covered till now, and some of the questions I asked at the start of the class, and it will be in a twisted way, yeah, true or false, all questions. Let's see how you do in that. Okay, so now we talked about the resource pool. Let's go up to Tor cluster and right click here as well again. So in fact, let's select the Tor cluster. And right click. So let's select the Tor cluster and right click, and then there is new vApp here. So first we talked about, okay, resource pool is this. So then what is vApp used for? So vApp is, let's go to vApp and then click new vApp. And we had a better experience of that on vCloud. It was actually the vCloud with some poor policies there that really lost our confidence on that. So let's go for new vApp there. And this is on the first screen. Hopefully everyone's on the first screen. But what does it do? So vApp is that's it. vApp is. So vApp is so we can restart. We can start. So we group together the virtual machines. Group VMs, and then so first of all we group VMs, and then what is the purpose of group? To start, restart, and shut the machines down together. Restart and shut down VMs together, right? The VMs together. So you create those VMs to start, restart, shut down them together, and we can change priority as well for shutting down. So start, restart, shut down VMs together, and then you can also change priority, which VM can start. So which VM can start first, which VM can start second, or we can just start them all together, restart them all together, or shut them down all together. So change priority. So we can do that too. So yes, we can move the we can move the vApp as well. Yeah, we can move it. So, but when you move a vApp, it's just grouping of machines, and the whole group moves. You can also clone the vApp. Suppose there's a 10 VM machines that was added to the vApp, so you can clone that full vApp group, and 10 more vApp grouped 10 more machine grouped vApp will be created as well. So you can clone the whole thing as well. So these are just the vApp features there, but normally it is grouping of machines together. That's the main idea behind vApp. So if we go ahead with that, So we're talking about vApp now, and there is a screenshot here. Oh, they're both week 10 and 10 March. Week 11 and it's 05, 06, 06 April. All right, guys. So and let's go ahead and check it out. So what we can do in vApp is that not only that we can group together, but we can also configure resource pool within vApp instead of creating a resource pool separately. So suppose, let's click next now. If you're on the first page, the next page is just asking that, hey, your vApp, where do you want to create it, and what is the name you want to give to it, and whenever it loads now. Okay, there you go. So vApp, and we can go for dash marketing. Suppose dash marketing VMs. Suppose there are marketing department virtual machines there, right? Marketing department virtual machines there. So you just put some name there, understandable name there, and then click next. You must select a valid location. Tor DC, yes, we have to select it, and then it will go ahead. So once we click the select the Tor DC, then we click next, and it says that, hey, why are you creating another resource pool? Why don't you create a resource pool within the vApp as well? Now this is better. Suppose you created a sales department via Vm-RP, and then the boss says, hey, can you also create a vApp for that too? So then you could just think that, hey, how about I just remove this source pool and I group them together in a vApp, and plus I configure the resource pool for that same virtual machines which are in the same vApp. So they are grouped together in vApp, but we can also just simply, since they are grouped together, why don't we just reserve CPU and RAM and put a limit as well? So that's a better way if you have to create a vApp for the same set of machines for whom you want to create resource pools, right? So we don't configure anything here because we understood already what these are, and click next. And that's it. So ready to complete, and then click finish. So once we click finish here, so vApp is created, vApp marketing VMs. So what we can do is the rest of the machines we can actually move or drag and drop inside vApp, just like we drag and drop or moved the machines into resource pool. So we can do the same thing with vApp as well. So I'm just gonna right click VM01 and go to move to, which is a proper way to move a VM. So Tor DC, and then host and clusters, and then Tor cluster, and then we go for vApp. Select the vApp, so Tor DC, host and clusters, Tor cluster, and then vApp, and then press OK. So then the second thing is that you drag the VM02 to the vApp. So, well, that is just to show you can just go move to both machines the same way. So now when we collapse or expand, the machines are there. When we collapse, the machines are not showing. So this means they are inside the vApp. So that's one thing, that how we create vApp. But let's right click on the vApp itself. If you have moved the two machines into the vApp, let's right click the vApp and then go to different other settings there. You can create a new resource pool inside the vApp. And you can create a new vApp inside that, and that is called child vApp. You can just create a child vApp as well. Suppose you have 200 machines there, suppose you have 20 machines there in the group, you can still create a child vApp, further categorizing them, further organizing them together. When you are especially going for updating and patching. Suppose you are all Windows machines, and every second week of the month you have to patch the machines. So you can just restart all the machines the same time, and then well, they are all started at the same time. Then you can start a new patch or next patch on that as well, right? So there's that new vApp option there. new resource pool option there. You can create a new virtual machine inside as well. But when you go to power, there is that power off, and there is that vApp level power off here, right? So if we go to power here, so we can click here power off. I'm just gonna click power off and check that the both machines are powered off or not, because they're powered on right now for me. If they're powered off for you, you can power on. They're powered on for me, so I'm just going to click the power off just to check that if both machines are controlled by the same vApp or not. So I've clicked the power off here, and I'm going to press yes just to check, do this shut down together as they say it does? Well, yes, they both shut down together. So, and then if I right click again and go to power, so now power on, before we go to that, you can go down to edit settings here of vApp. Let's click that edit settings here and go to vApp here, edit settings. Once we click the edit settings here, so once we click the edit settings here for vApp, you can see that there's CPU resources. Now this is obviously the resource pool configuration that has been attached to vApp, so you can still change the resource pool or CPU and memory reservation and limit here. Other than that, unrecognized OVF section. So OVF is used for import and export of virtual machines, right? So that is the upcoming next lab we're going to do. But right now there is no machine that has been imported or exported here, so no information here. IP allocation. So how do you want the IP to be distributed, and it just is static manual for now written there. But then there comes the start order. That's where once you click the start order here, so you can see that they're not exactly going to start together. They powered off together, yes. They're not gonna start together, right? So there's a priority by default written here, and group 1, group 2. Suppose you had 20 machines here, so they would have written here group 3, 4, 5, 6 per machine. They will create a group. Group just means that you can group the machines together. So if I drag, okay, I select that machine 2 and click arrow here, right? Click machine 2 and click arrow. Now they will start together. And if I click the above machine and down arrow here, so now the second machine will start first, and after 1/22 of waiting time, then the first machine will start second, right? So and I can just put it back to VM01 up, and then put VM02 down. Suppose starting all the machines together actually consumes so much RAM. If suppose it does consume so much RAM, then it's going to be a problem for other virtual machines that really need that RAM at that time. So other machines users will be actually experiencing degradation of performance there, right? So we get that. Okay, so starting order is, there's a priority wise. So first one will start, then second will start, right? So if you go further down here, so shutdown action is power off, so they just power off. You can just go for guest shutdown as well. In fact, power off is a insecure way, not recommended way to power off the machines. We can go down to guest shutdown. That is better. It waits for the services of the operating system to shut down before it fully shuts down the machine. This one. So let's change that from power off to guest shutdown. And then again, shutdown sequence proceeds when 120 seconds have elapsed or when the virtual machine is powered off. So shutdown, now it's going to wait for 120 seconds here for the shutdown. If we go further down here, you can just give the product name. Suppose they are from their which department, name, version of the machine, and then IP allocation is here as well. So do you want the IP to be coming from DHCP or OVF environment? OVF environment is import export. So suppose you have a Toronto machine and you have a New York machine. So New York machine was you exported a machine in New York, then you uploaded it on Google Drive, then you downloaded it in Toronto branch, and then you imported it here. So when you imported a virtual machine from New York branch, so there was a static IP there. So suppose that static IP, you need to keep that here as well. So you can go for OVF environment. Whatever IP was configured when you were importing the machine, that IP I want to keep, or remove that IP and for the imported machine, if you suppose import it and keep it connected to DHCP. So we can do all that, and what kind of protocol you want, V4, V6, or both. So this is just all IP allocation scheme for the group to gather machines here, right? So we understand that this much, this is what we can do with the virtual machines there. So there's that priority of start order. So let's just check that out as well. That first VM1 will start, then second will start after 120 seconds delay. So let's press OK after, if we have understood everything, and if there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, this is pretty straightforward, but any question is welcome. And press O and K. Let's press O and K. So once we select O and K here, so there's that marketing VMs, and in marketing's VM you see VM01 and VM02. So how about we right click the vApp again, and go to power, right click the vApp again and go to power and power on, right? So I hope you have right click the VM again, vApp again, go to power and power on. So it does show in the this recent task as well, that first 01 starts and 100%. So, and you can see all in the task, the live task being performed. If you have put both machines there, though, it would have attempted both machines at the same time. But it is attempting the first machine to start fully, and it should start with the second machine as well. And it's 120-second delay, right? So anyone PhD in maths who can tell that how many minutes are 120 seconds? Anyone? Only those who have done doctorate in maths and done some research on some complex mathematician. Exactly, 2 minutes. So 120 seconds is 2 minutes. See, I've done PhD in maths. So, but anyway, that's what we understand, that okay, vApp is a straightforward grouping of VMs, and kind of not much there other than it's a pretty straightforward, like it's not complicated, right? Okay, so now if we understand vApp, then we go for so I'm just going to refresh that because it's just stuck at 1. I think it's been 2 minutes. So 2 is still not started. That's not fair. So it's 2 minutes in IT normally. So in IT sometimes time freezes, right? So it's on last 1 second of installation and it just is stuck there for 1 hour. So it could do that too. So let us check the next feature. So that is the vApp. Yeah. So the next small feature is OVA and OVF. So okay, Meyer says move. When was that? Right now? Oh, that's a previous comment there. I thought there was a latest comment here. Okay, guys. So here, let us go for some more of this. So how do we export and how do we import the machine? It started, but why did it move to a different host? Mahmoud is saying. So we have, Mahmoud, we have a lot of policies here, and one of the policies, there's DRS there, there is Anti Affinity, there is Affinity policy there. So DRS, whenever you start a machine, DRS do placement. Whenever it is powered on already, then it does Vmotion. So right now it just went for placement. So it just starts it on another host. Alright, so what we were doing here is the OVF, and for that we need to go to a slide. And what is that slide? Oh, actually, I'm opening that slide. So just so OVF and OVA are two types of features that they're both import-export. They're both used for import and export, right? But what's the difference? So OVF creates three types of files. So OVF, or Open Virtualization Format, first of all. An Open Virtualization Format is a collection of items in a single folder. Most commonly, this is a description file .ovf, a manifest file .mf, and a virtual machine state file .vhd or vmdk, right? So this means VHD is normally used in Hyper-V. So this means that OVF and OVA are the common format for both Hyper-V hypervisor and VMware E6i hypervisor as well. So an OVA, Open Virtualization Appliance, is a single file. So first thing is, OVF is a collection of three files. OVA is just a single file. So why the difference? So for OVS, why would you have three files there? The reason would be that suppose somebody wants to, so if you have allowed anyone else to still be able to edit this VM, then you will try, export it in OVF format. So what does that mean? There are three files there, and there is a clear VMDK file. Anyone knows what's a VMDK what this extension does? What is it represents? What is VMDK? Anyone knows? VMware disk, exactly. So VMDK is VMware disk extensions, or virtual disk extension of a virtual machine. So what happens here is that if you have kept during the export the virtual disk of a virtual machine exposed, or it is during the exporting or after the exporting of the virtual machine from the virtual environment is done, so VMDK is still out there, and you can just attach it to your virtual machine as well and check the contents inside, suppose if it's not encrypted. So you can do that. So this is if you want further editing of that virtual machine by anyone, so you can just export this machine in an OVF format, while OVA is the final version. Pretty much we call it the final version, or a single file. That's it, just .ova. The OVA is the OVF folder contents all zipped into single file. So it is all zipped into a single file. So this means that you don't want anyone to edit further this virtual machine. You would go for OVF. So Memo says here, VMDK is only for VMware or any VM. So VMDK is an extension for VMware. VHD or VHDX is an extension for Hyper-V hypervisor. So VMDK is for any VMware virtual machines virtual disk. So virtual disk extension is VMDK, but it's only for VMware. While VHD or VHDX actually, VHD and VHDX are the virtual disk extensions for Hyper-V virtual machines. All right. So yeah. So OVA is so VMDK is for VMware. VHD is for, these are both virtual disk extensions. One is for VMware, other is for Microsoft Hyper-V. All right. So what else we need to talk about? So can you please maximize your screen? Oh, this one as well. Yikes. Why I'm not maximizing? So there's that OVF, and that is Open Virtualization Platform, and then there's a manifest file MF that has exporting of virtual machine details and importing of that as well, and then the virtual machine state file This is just a virtual disk, VHD or VHDX for Microsoft, Hyper-V, and VMDK for VMware Virtual Machines Virtual Disk, right? And if you have allowed anyone else to, if you want to allow anyone else to further edit, then you go for exporting the virtual machine as OVF. Otherwise, you go for OVA. So OVA is just a single file. So let's do that. Let's do both type of export there, and then import any one of those, or both if you want. So that is OVA. The purpose of the OVA is when you want to take an OVF and share it or give it as a download, the OVA needs to be opened into the OVF before it can be consumed. So normally when you import a machine, it just asks, hey, where's the OVF? So otherwise, when you export a machine, at that time it's asking, hey, you want to export it with OVF format, or you want to export it with OVA format? You want to further edit? OVF. You want somebody to, hey, you can also work on it. Okay. Or no, this is the final version. Don't touch any of the configurations of my machine. This is the final version, so I'm just giving you OVA version of that, right? Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so let us go ahead now. Let us. Hey, I lost my virtual machines here. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and guys, so now we need to export a VM. We have 4 VMs here, and we can export it outside of this vCenter. So first what we can do is, actually we can go for VM02 here and select it, and then because there's no operating system inside, so it's okay. With or without an operating system, the procedure is still the same. I'm going to right click the VM02 for no particular reason. You can just choose anyone else, and power off. So let's power off the virtual machine 02. So once we power off the your first name VM02, then we right click on it, and then we want to migrate or export or the machine or remove or okay, sorry, I'm just checking that there. Where's that option? Convert to no way. No. It's it's export option. Yeah, it's in the template. You're right. Export OVF. You're right, man. I was just testing you. No, actually I forgot that. Yeah, thank you, sir. So here, template here, and let's go to export OVF template. So it says OVF, but you will still have the choice of making it OVA or OVF. So let's go for export OVF template. Yay! So let's click export OVF template. And now here, so you can see that format, either folders of files, OVF, annotation. You can just give a detail. Okay, this is a marketing department machine. It has software, customized software. And then we go for enable advanced options here. And there you can go for the above options. Limit portability, use only when absolutely required. So enable advanced options. Now this is that you want to can we change that? Suppose we go for okay, so we cannot change that, seriously. So now, why advanced options? Suppose you want to keep the universally unique ID of this machine, and you want to keep the MAC address of that machine and include extra configuration of that machine, any other configuration that identifies this machine as a unique machine. So sometimes, when you export a machine, this is a final product, so you customize some application inside, you want to purchase it, you want to upload it in the marketplace so somebody could buy it. So in that case, you don't want the universal unique ID of that machine to be placed here. It could be a general template that you can just export. You don't have to have the specific MAC address of a virtual machine. Whichever VM virtualization environment it will adopt, that's where the MAC address it will get from. So you don't need to really keep the unique features of a virtual machine when you're exporting. Suppose you're giving it to someone else, though they will just go for they don't care about the BIOS UUID and MAC address and extra configuration. It's a general machine that you want to create, right? So that's why we don't have to really go for enable advanced options unless you want to give with unique features, or these MAC address has to be exactly the same, maybe for security reasons. So now, as I was saying that there's a OVA and OVF, but that right now it is just giving us OVF option there. So okay, so uncheck that and press OK. Let's see what is the next option there. So once you press OK, preparing for download. Export Ovf template, export Ovf package. So it has downloaded both machines. So what I was gonna say here, create an Ovf from a working machine. That's a lab. If you get an error of bad URL, then it is DNS related. Remove internet NIC from this VM and then open CMD with admin and run ipconfig flush DNS register DNS. If you get some kind of error, it will be then just if it is bad URL. So this means that our vCenter is connected to internet and the naming is kind of having an issue. So but we don't get that, right? So there's a package and there's a template. Where is it written? So if I go for export Vm template, well, I downloaded it already. So let me check where it is. Show in folder. And yeah, so this is the folder here, guys. In the downloads folder, it downloaded the file. So there are 3 files here, and they are all in OVF. So where did you see package, Mariam? Because it's just a template. Now template, you can create clones out of that, but this is how it calls when it's exporting the virtual machine. Where did you see package? Maybe it was mentioned there, something? At recent task. Oh, well, at recent tasks, it's saying export OVF package. So package would be just a collection of files there. Definitely, it would just refer to it as package. And then the actual process is called OVF template. So it would just be grouping together. But no, it's not some terminology for any new feature. Okay, guys, so we get that. Okay, it's 3 files there. This means it's editable. But weren't we talking about OVA? So now, yes, we were talking about OVA, but you know what? I've been teaching 6.0 a lot. I still have to check that why, 6.5 maybe they have discontinued OVA to be exported in the OVA format. Normally, even when you go for storage gateway lab in AWS, normally they download the OVA version of that file. So I'm just going to go for another machine here, and but that is powered on, right? So if I go to template, so it already does not really support that. So the thing is that in 6.5, I forgot to mention then that it does not actually support, I think it does not support the OVA version of that. So yeah, so it's actually, there used to be a drop down here, but they have removed that. Okay, so in 6.5 it is just OVF. Can we make OVF from vApp and pool? So Mara says. So yes, if you right click the vApp here, I hope your machines are not having operating system. It's gonna take then long time. Suppose you right click here and then you go for OVF template, and then deploy OVF template is there, but export is not supported because one of the machines is started. You have to power off all the machines, and then you can export the whole vApp as well. Yes. So yes, you can do that. Okay, guys. So what we have done till now is exported it in a editable format, in OVF format. So and we've seen that it's in the downloads folder as well. So what we can do is, we don't have another vCenter, so we can just try to check that how to import the same machine, right? So let's import the same machine just to understand the import process as well. So export was pretty straightforward. You shut down the machine and just simply export, right? So how to import? If we go to the Tor DC, if you right click, so select the Tor DC, and there is, in the Tor DC you can see deploy Ovf template. Then if you go to Tor cluster, there you see deploy Ovf template, but do you see that on a hypervisor level? If you right click the hypervisor, so yes, even on hypervisor level you can deploy Ovf template. So you can import a machine on 3 levels. Hypervisor level, if I go to vApp, actually right click, and new vApp is there, Ovf template, yeah, deploy Ovf template. So on inside vApp you can import it, on hypervisor you can import it, on Tor cluster or on Tor DC, anywhere you can import it. So let's go right click on Tor cluster, because everything's in the cluster, and check that what kind of error it will give if it's the same machine that we already have and we are importing this again here. But we just need to go explore the import process of a virtual machine. So let's click that deploy Ovf template on a Tor cluster level. I right clicked on the Tor cluster level and click that. Okay, right. So it's just asking, is it a URL where your virtual machine is waiting, or it's do you have it in the local computer in the browse? So I'm just going to click browse here, and we know where it is. It's in the downloads folder, and there it is. So we can select just the OVF, because it says here that associated with an OVF template .ovf or .vmdk as well, right? It will accept both ways to import. So OVF is there, and because it's in the same folder, it will get all the information from the rest of the files here as well. So I'm just selecting OVF and double clicking that, and it is just saying that it will validate now. Oh, you have, so use multiple selection to select all files associated with an OVF template. Actually, it says very clearly all files. I have just selected one. So let me see the error, then we can go back as well and just select all and then come back. So first I've just selected one, and I'm just going to click next here, and yeah. So it says one required file missing. Browse again and use multiple selection to reselect the OVF template, and all required files, missing files is VMDK. So it did not ask for MF or manifest file, but it is asking for VMDK. Let's click browse again. Let's simply select the first top one and press shift and then the down one. So press shift and select the third one to select all files other than Chrome setup. Don't select that. So if we select all 3 files, MF, OVF and VMDK, then click open. Now 3 files are selected, but it's going to still verify that. So let's click next. Okay, so now it has all the information. Oh, that's a file you want to import. Okay, so then where do you want to import it? Select the name and location. So it's Tor DC, which data center you want to import that. So Tor DC, and then click next. So virtual machine template or vApp with the same name already exists. It says that, so we can just simply change the name. So it is 2. We can go for 5 because 3 and 4 are also there, right? We can change the name to 5 and not name it according to any existing machine name. So your first name Vm05, and then click next, and then click next. And Tor cluster. So that's just a resource, and if we expand the Tor cluster here, so we do see that we can select the hypervisor as well. So, oh, hey, we haven't taken a screenshot here. That's not fair. Oh, it rhymed. Okay, so okay, thank you, Ari. We were so involved in that. Okay, so anyway, Tor cluster here, and it's like duplication, yes. So duplication, but now we're just putting it. If you just click the Tor cluster, it will just decide which hypervisor to put it in. So just select Tor cluster, and yeah, we're just we don't want to duplicate Shiva, but the thing is that we're just exploring the options of how to import any virtual machine, and we just have one vCenter, so that's why we're just putting it back here. So let's click next, and then that's it. Then okay, so we get that, but it's saying thick provision here, unknown thin provision. So who should be thin provision? Do you extract Ova to Ovf? Yeah, if it is Ova, if you get Ova, so it just will be deployed with the Ovf format, the wizard of Ovf, even if it is Ova, right? So and Ova would be a very common format. Suppose you want to deploy some appliance from outside and import it inside the VMware. So those appliances normally are in the .ova format. They are now not in. You want to deploy some appliance from cloud, so it will be always Ova. And this is the way to deploy Ova as well. That's the same wizard. Okay, guys. So click next. So now it is asking, hey, which data store you want to put it. Obviously, we're going to go for LAN-based data stores. So for no particular reason, I'm just going for DS1. You can go for DS0 or DS2. It's up to you. And also select virtualized format. I would just go for thin provision. Let's go for thin provision. And DS1 or 0 or 2 doesn't matter, as long as they are LAN-based formats. And then click next. So it's just saying that which network. Obviously our default port group is VM network, which is okay. And click next. That's a summary. And click finish. So let's see what happens. It's an 05 machine now, but it's an exact duplicate, but the wizard had just a problem with the name, and the rest of the inside of the machine, it would not compare or detect that. But when you do power on, suppose it was an operating system, when you power on, so before powering on, you should disconnect its network, virtual network. You should disconnect it from the virtual switch, and then power on that machine, change its IP, change its operating system name, and then you introduce it to the environment. So Japinder is saying, how is this different from clone? So, and why disconnect? So the first question is, clone, you can create in one go 200 clones. You can create 2000 clones as well. While this is just one import we can do. And yes, it could be an exact copy of that, but that's a long procedure. Clone, you can create hundreds or thousands of that in one go. So that's very different from clone, and every clone has a unique SID given there. If you import this exact machine, now this is the same SID right now. If those were both Windows machines, now the second machine cannot join the domain. They both have same SID. So that's the second problem with that. Unless you have, when you were exporting, you would check that option that keep the unique UUID. So then it would just keep its ID. Otherwise, it's just the same machine as. So normally when you export, it's not for this same environment. Then if it was for this same environment, why would you even export it, right? You can clone it then. You export it if you want it to be taken to some other environment, some other vCenter in another branch. Only then you export. Otherwise, you want to make a copy. This is the most. This is the longest way. You can go for cloning. Just go for clone. So this is supposed to be for another environment. That's why you're exporting. Cool. And then the next one is why disconnect. So disconnect because it's an exact, the second machine is an exact copy of the first machine, because we are importing it in our own environment. For whatever reason, if we are doing that in a production environment, we could have gone for clone. But if we are doing that with the same machine, importing back again, then we should, if you start it, it's going to have the operating system name. You know, we change the outside name as O5. The inside operating system name, suppose there was an operating system, so it would be still the same. The IP of the operating system, suppose it was static, would have been the same as this machine. So in that case, if that was the case, then only you disconnect it from the network, start it, change the IP and name, and then connect it to the network. Cool. So that was why I was saying that disconnect before powering up. Disconnect from the network before powering up. And clone is for the same machine, OVF is for different. Yeah, OVF is just exporting to another environment, and clone is that you can create a copy, then go for clone. That is much faster. Okay, so we kind of get that. It's not kind of, it's also pretty straightforward. We exported a machine, we imported a machine, right? So, but why would we do that? Definitely when we don't want it in, when we want it, somebody asks for a copy, go for this. In another environment, if you want to create within the environment, we know we can go for clone. So we talked about import export, we talked about resource pool, we talked about vApps there, and then there is VM management as well. So virtual machine management, what is that? Again, reminded me, hey, what about screenshots? So guys, let's go for screenshots now. So it's going to be a screenshot mania now, screenshotaholic. So let's select the resource pool here. Let's select the resource pool. And at the end of the RP here, at the end of the RP, if we right click, so the resource pool name is shown here, and you've right clicked. If you have right clicked while showing the name exactly like this, that's a screenshot number 1, created a resource pool. That's a screenshot number 1, created a resource pool. So Mahmoud is asking, can we change configuration while deploying OVF? So after deploying OVF, yes. Before deploying OVF, yes, but not during deployment of OVF. We can change the configuration. Well, after deploying, you still have to import it somewhere to change the configuration. So you have to import it to another vCenter. So you can only change it when it is inside a vCenter. Then you can change. But when it is in 3 files, no. Okay, so here, guys, first screenshot, right click on the resource pool and just name the screenshot as created resource pool. So first screenshot is created resource pool and name the screenshot like Aziz. So I'm just gonna put that screenshot name here. So screenshot 1, not exclamation 1, is created resource pool. Then second screenshot, since we are here, would be created vApp. And third screenshot is actually created vApp. You can also right click on the vApp, and then and third would be we have to go out to the downloads folder, and third screenshot would be that exported OVF of a VM. So that would be downloads folder 3 files showing that for an exported VM, and create vApp, right click dash right click vApp and take a picture, right? So that was right click vApp. So that's the second screenshot, and the first one would be right click what? RP, resource pool. So did we take the 3 screenshots? Yes. Okay, thank you for the reply. So please name these 3 screenshots and also expect brutal quiz coming your way. So there will be a deadline there as well. I'll just put the deadline to be tonight, 10:15. Okay, so anyway, let's if we have taken the 3 screenshots here, guys, then let us go ahead. Did we take the 3 screenshots? We are all done. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead. So these are 3 names here, right? Okay, no, please wait. Let me know when it is yes yet. Name of third screenshot is this: exported OVF of a VM. Oh. Okay, all I can say. Ivana says 33%? Really? Kim also? Tosin also? Why? Where? When? It's progressing or it has stopped? Is that an error? Or it's just... Okay, it's progressing. So, any one of you could just put that screenshot there on WhatsApp? The one where I'm adding? I'm added, not your screenshot. And beside, one of you is actually copying all the chat done there here as well. Thank you, one of you. I should have a villainous laugh now. Yeah. Yeah. BRTSC not working at you, No, Tosin, screenshot on WhatsApp. Okay, so screenshots are added. Yay! Thank you, Kim. So oh, it's on 0%. Hey, so Imane, you're lucky. I mean, you're 30%, right? So it's better. So you should be very happy. So Kim's didn't even start. Wow, what's wrong? Because there's no error. That's oh, guys, did you export a machine that has an operating system? Because then it takes a longer time because it's 10 GB that you're exporting, right? But it doesn't take that much time as yours is taking. If it has an operating system, okay, Babatunde also 0%. Zhang also, Kim also, no operating system. It does not have an OS. Whoa. Okay, you refreshed, and second thing is better sign out from the dashboard and sign in again. Also check the downloads folder if you have some of those files or all 3 files. Check the downloads folder if you have 3 files already there, even though it didn't even start. Maybe the background. VM5, yeah, so they are stuck in the export, Shiva. Maybe you're done with the export and then import as well. Oh, guys, import or export? Kim, is it? Oh, export, okay. Wow, if that's not started, try to sign out, sign in from the vCenter. Second thing is check the downloads folder. Maybe all 3 files are already there, or go for another machine and try this process there, and skip this one. So try all those options there, just to check that what's going on. Maybe the other machine works and this machine has some issue. But so many have this issue, though it may not be the machine issue. So Imane also shows there, and Tosin also shows there, and Mahmoud is showing the 3 files there. Yes, Mahmoud, that's the 3 files, and that's the right screenshot. Third screenshot is this one, and the others. So Tosin is showing. Oh, completed, Tosin. Yeah, yours is completed, right? So no issues there. And Imane is showing the virtual machines and 30%. Okay, and then there's an error. So what's the error? This task was cancelled by a user. Okay, so you cancelled it. Okay, no problemo. But try to go for another machine or sign out, sign in. You know, all that stuff, and then. Oh, so it's not working for another machine, Imane, as well? Ouch. Then sign out, sign in from vCenter, close the browser, make sure all the other browsers are closed as well, and then open the browser, sign in again, and try again. But normally, and also check that your vCenter does not have internet connection. If it has, so disable that second network card, and then run ipconfig flush DNS and ipconfig register DNS. So tshoot, I'll just put some stuff there. Tshoot, try another VM to export if first one not working, and then make sure your server 02 does not have internet connection. If it has, then remove it or disable it, and then run in cmd with admin ipconfig /flush DNS, and then try again. And after that, ipconfig /register DNS. So I hope it is updated to your OneNote as well. So this is tshoot, some of the tshoots there. There are more screenshots coming now. Shiva has put some screenshots there. So I'll just go for that. Yeah, Shiva, that's a screenshot for 05. No, Shiva, you have to. Okay, so these 3 are showing there. These 3 are showing there, which is also okay. Otherwise, you should click this arrow and go to the downloads folder, and the 3 files there, show that as a screenshot within the downloads folder. Okay, so let us go ahead, guys. So what is going on? Okay, so is it solved or is it not solved? That is the question. Okay, so let's go ahead. Not solved. Okay. Well, then let's put it as an assignment for you guys, and let's try to T-shoot. So there are some T-shoots here that I'm telling, and then guys, we still have a lot of topics we can be troubleshooting that throughout the week as well. Let me know. Google it as well. There could be and I did all the things that you said, but it's still the same problem. So it's not exporting at all. But are there any errors? Are there any events that are showing anything? So if you go for so when we export from this machine, so you can go to monitor here. Either so you can go to the cluster level and check monitor. Then you can also go to. So I'm just gonna minimize this. So I click on Tor cluster, then I click on monitor here, and then tasks and events here. So Tor cluster, monitor, tasks and events. Normally we would be interested in events, or if you see in the tasks any error that this machine was stuck, and so it could be showing something. Other than that, events, if you go to events here, anything red or any information that is there that's showing. So when you click on that first event, second event, third event, so you can see here some detail. It tries to say something. So the strange thing is it's not even giving error. So then it's just delaying. So that's something that is puzzling, because then how without an error. So normally then we go for Google, and then okay, my machine is stuck at 33%. My machine is stuck at 0% when we export with OVF, so in 6.5. So then there are some workarounds there as well. Known errors, known things are this. So guys, what I would suggest is that there are a very long list of topics there, and we will be you can send me the errors if you find in the events. Otherwise, ultimately I would suggest that since you went from suspension to unsuspending the machines, so sometimes some of the services get frozen as well, and they don't work, and some of the task in return does not work. So when there is no clear error there, and it's doing weird stuff that everyone else is able to do but you're not able to do, so this normally refers to that when you went from suspension to unsuspension at the start of the class, you unsuspended the machine. So some of the services sometimes also are frozen, they don't start. So better, the main solution would be restart the vCenter, give it on the login screen, give it 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then come back in, log into vCenter and try again, and it should work because there is no error. So this has to be related to what? This has to be related to suspension of the machine. So if it does that for me as well, the ultimate thing is if there's no error, you have to restart and refresh all the services. So restart really refreshes all the services, and then it should work. So what my suggestion is, well, maybe some of you have restarted, but don't restart now. At the end of the class, go ahead and restart, and then check that with enough time. We have still some time left to go for some more features there, so we can use that class time to learn some more features. But just restart and it should work. vCenter, you know that it takes 10-15 minutes to just restart. So that's why I'm just saying, let's go with me. So guys, here, what we were talking about, so let's create another virtual machine. We need to talk about some virtual machine management as well. So let's right click on Tor cluster here and go to new virtual machine. This one, the Tor cluster. You can create a new virtual machine on DC level, data center level, on the cluster level, on the hypervisor level, and on the vApp and ResourcePool level. On any level you can create a virtual machine. So if you select right click the Tor cluster, then you click new virtual machine. Let's click the new virtual machine here. Once you click the new virtual machine, we did create a new virtual machine, so we know how to do that. But what are the other options here? Deploy from template. So Memo is asking, what is the advantage of creating in different places? The advantage is just that suppose you really wanted a virtual machine inside a vApp. So if you create it outside of vApp, so there is an extra step. Once it is created, you just have to drag it inside the vApp. So in order to avoid that dragging inside or move to step, you can directly create in that same section or area. So you can just you don't have to drag it after to where you actually wanted it, right? And like vApp cluster or in the resource pool you can create. So directly, if you create it in data center, then you have to drag it to or move to the vApp or resource pool or hypervisor or Tor cluster. So directly creating that is better than creating it somewhere else and dragging it there. So it's just an extra step, nothing else. Can you apply rules in different data centers? Yeah, different data centers can have different rules as well, and the same rules as well. Sure, it's up to us.
No, sir. Like one hypervisor is in Tor DC and one in NYDC. Can we do it? Or it's not possible that we can make it group from one data center to another?
Well, it has to be one DC to make a vApp. It does not reach across the data center to include virtual machines of other data center. It has to be in one. Okay, cool. So guys, here deploy from template. What is that? And clone an existing virtual machine. Clone virtual machine to template. Clone template to template. Convert template to virtual machine. So there are many of those. So deploy from template. Anyone knows what is that for? Quickly. Deploy from template. So this means you are creating a clone, right? Deploy from template would be if you have a template, then you can deploy from that, but we don't have a template, right? So you can create clones out of if you have a template. Second thing is clone an existing virtual machine. So you don't have a template, but you want an exact copy of an existing virtual machine. So you can do that too, but you have to make sure that your new virtual machine is having unique SID if you want to start it in the same environment. Otherwise, take it to some other environment. So, but you need a copy of that. Maybe you want to take a backup of that virtual machine, or you will then run sysprep on that new machine separately to give it a unique SID. So you can do clone an existing virtual machine as well. Clone virtual machine to template. What is that? So that would be that you have a virtual machine already. It has been configured with sysprep. And remember that we configured the first machine in our class sysprep. Did we? I guess. Yeah. So in that case, then that virtual machine you can create a template out of. So the virtual machine, the question to you would be, if you have an existing virtual machine, will it be converted to a template machine, or will it create a copy of that machine which will be template? So the question again is this option, clone virtual machine to template. Does the actual virtual machine becomes template, or the virtual machine creates a copy of it and makes that copy a template? So what would it be? What do you say? So would the virtual machine become a template? Javinder says copy. It will create a copy, and then that copy will be a template. And Mahmood says convert. So that machine will become template. Babatunde says become. Mahmood says become. And Babatunde transform. So this means that it will be a transformer, right? So transformer. Okay, so anyway, clone virtual machine to template is actually going to create a copy of it, and it's so where does it say? So this option guides you through creating a copy. Okay, it says here. Okay, but anyway, so the thing is that yes, this is just to so Japinder, then why is to so yeah, it just says create a copy. Why was I asking such a question when there was a definition here? So it's also called golden image. So it will keep a copy there of a virtual machine, and the virtual machine will exist as a separate working virtual machine, but its copy will become a template. Suppose you installed every perfect configuration there. Suppose your boss says that, hey, install MS Office in all my 200 virtual machines. So then you think that, okay, first I will install a virtual machine, I will install all the latest updates, I will install antivirus, Adobe Acrobat, WinZip, and MS Office, the typical applications that you should have. So after that, this is a perfect machine. I will shut this machine down with sysprep forever, and then create a template out of this. So you create a perfect machine. So that machine should be this the configuration that machine has. That should be the same configuration for the next 200 machines as well. So in that case, you will have then that. So suppose there's one perfect machine here, and you install all the software here perfectly, and drivers and updates, and then you finally shut it down with sysprep. You know what sysprep does? Once you shut down the sysprep and never start, and so whatever clones you create out of the sysprepped machine, those clones will have unique SID, right? So first you create a perfect virtual machine, you shut it down forever. After that, you create a template out of that, and that template machine is used to create hundreds or thousands of clones. And all clones, so from template, you create clones, and those clones will have all the applications that this machine has, all the configurations that this machine has, right? So that template is also called golden image. There is that written here, golden image. That template is also called golden image. Golden image, right? So that's one image out of which you can create hundreds or thousands of clones, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do here, right? So let's quickly do that. And I'll put that diagram here. So we're talking about okay, we're talking about VM template. So let's create one. So VM template, and then there's that picture that talks about that you need to create a golden image first, and then you have to go for its template. So Tosin says here, please, which one are we cloning? Which one are we cloning? Anyone? So guys, do we all have a machine with operating system? I think the first machine we created was an operating system, right? Or if you don't have it, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I want to show you the option of So, okay guys, but before we go there, because I'm on the same page here, so what is the purpose of clone template to template? What does that mean? Anyone can tell me the purpose of clone template to template? Why would you clone a template, right? Why would you clone a template? What's the purpose? Exactly. Copy of a clone. So you want to give template to someone else. Suppose you really worked hard on that template, and in Toronto branch and the New York branch guys come, hey, can you just copy that template as a template so we can just take it there and import it to our vCenter and start creating clones instead of working as hard as you did. So, and convert template to virtual machine. What is that? You have a template, so that's also a tricky one. So convert template to virtual machine. Why would you want to do that? So when you convert a template to virtual machine, so suppose there's a template here, and that template is suppose 6 month old, right? 6 month old. So that template has old. You've been creating clones and clones and clones. Now, when the clones are created, and suppose finance department, marketing department, they all ask for clones, and then when you give them the clone, they say, "Hey, this is not updated. I mean, you have Windows which has 6 month old features there. So, what's going on there?" So template, if it is old template, or maybe it's 1 month old, 2 months old, so maybe you have a policy there, then that, hey, update this template, put the latest updates there for MS Office, put the latest updates there, latest versions of applications there. So put the latest updates there and latest versions of applications that were there in the template 6 months ago. So what you just put there, what you want to do is you want to go for this last option, and this last option does what? It will convert your template to a virtual machine. So it will not create a copy of a template into a virtual machine. It will convert the template to a virtual machine. So what happens? Then you power on that machine, and then you install all updates, and then you go for the same process of clone virtual machine to a template. Now, first you convert the template into a virtual machine, but when you want to convert it back to template, so that virtual machine remains there, it creates a copy of it, that becomes a template. So you must understand the whole cycle of it, that a perfect virtual machine should be there and should be converted to a template. When you want to update the template after a few months, you convert that template into a virtual machine, it doesn't create a copy. Then you want to, once you have updated everything, you're sure that it's the latest updates and latest versions of every software, latest version of MS Office. So then you create a copy of it and convert it into a template again. And you keep this process going whenever you want to update the current template, right? So I hope you understand that what is the difference between those processes there, and when do you use which option, right? So I'll put that screenshot here in 2 notes. No, 1 note. And yeah, most of I'll be adding you. It's just that there's less time left. So at 10 o'clock, just make sure that I do that. Sometimes at the end of the class I forget. So guys, let's go for this clone virtual machine to template, the third from the last. Let's click that clone virtual machine to template. If you've selected that option, let's click next. In fact, let's click back. So are you there? Let's take a screenshot creating a template. Let's take a screenshot here creating a template. Screenshot 4, creating a template. So screenshot 4, creating a template. Oh, that was 3. And so screenshots, and then screenshot for creating a template, and you choose anyone. Creating a template. So it's just Microsoft creating a template, yeah. And Tosin says, sorry, I'm lost. How did we get there? What? So, okay. So, yeah, when I ask for screenshot, then we get to know who was there and who was on CP24, right? Or CTV News. Oh man, more COVID-19, no. Oh, okay, template, screenshot. Now I have to ask. Okay, so anyway, guys, stay there. I'm canceling out for Tosin. Tosin, right click here on Tor cluster. So now I know who was following and who was and new virtual machine here. So Tosin, if you're following, right click cluster and go for new virtual machine and new virtual machine here. And then we go for third option here, clone virtual machine to template. Okay, clone virtual machine to template, and then click next. See the importance of screenshots. So now everyone's on the same page. So let's click next after selecting this. Yeah, fourth option, clone virtual machine to template. Did we all click that? Yeah, okay. So clone virtual machine to template, next. And then we go for expanding, select a virtual machine they're asking. So you can just go for any virtual machine here. So I'm going for 05. If you select a virtual machine with an operating system, suppose you have one, so it's going to take more time, but the procedure is same with or without an operating system. It just creates a template machine. So let's click next. Now this will take very less time if it doesn't have an operating system. So click next with an 05, or so we can just call it Vm05. If you selected whichever machine, Vm0 and that number dash template. So let's go for Vm05 and template. So let's click next. Vm05 dash template, or whichever you selected as a number. And then we go for Tor cluster, select that Tor cluster and click next. Now obviously you need to create it on some data store, so for no particular reason I'm going for DS2. You can select DS0 or 1, doesn't matter. I'm selecting DS2. As long as compatibility check succeeded and it's green, we're good. Next. And then ready to complete. Clone virtual machine to template. Click finish. So Ade, you're not there creating virtual machine and a clone. But Karma. Okay. I'm on 2A. So Tosin caused it. So first Tosin was saying I'm lost, then so guys, we are not really paying attention. I think there's something very important going on CP24. So maybe I should also go ahead and check that out, and I'll come back after that, listening to that breaking news. So now Ade, where are you? Where should I start? Right click the Tor cluster here and then go to fourth option and create a new virtual machine and go to fourth option. So on this I normally say Master G. This means that respected teacher, but actually it means you've done a very basic mistake. Okay, so let's click next. Well, I am just showing you what to do, and so 05 here and click next, and Vm05 template, and let's go to Tor DC here. Select Tor DC and click next, and then Tor cluster, compute resource. Next. DS2 for no particular reason. Next. And then we have a finish here. Woohoo, yay. So let's click finish. Now, the recent tasks here saying 17%, 94%, 95% completed. Yay! Yoo-hoo-wee. Okay. So, if it is completed. So let's. So guys, your quick task for next 2 minutes is power on that machine. So if you power on, then take a screenshot. Powered on the template machine. So the next screenshot number 5 would be powered on template machine. So you got 2 minutes. Your time starts now. Power on the template machine and take a screenshot when it is powered on. And the screenshot name is powered on template machine. So your time starts now. You got 1 minute and 50 seconds. Dude. If you're done, just type done. So power on template machine. Once it is powered on, just go ahead and take a screenshot. Template machine powered on. So array says done. Woohoo! Yay! So Mariam says, where is the template? So array can actually tell Mariam because it's done. So you can tell Mariam where is the template. So obviously not done. So Gabriel says done. Are you kidding me, guys? Shiva says done. So did you power on the template machine and took a screenshot as well? Anyone can show me the screenshot? Did you power on the template machine? Yeah, the template machine that was created as a result of this process. The template machine that was created as a result of this process can't find any template. Where is the machine exactly? That should be the question. So those who are saying done, what have you done? What are you referring to as done? So, creating a new VM? Gabriel says found the template. Where? Second tab. Kim. It's just a template. Then select a template. Okay, there you go. You guys are smart. So Kim's there and Gabriel is there. I find the template from the middle of the page. So guys, see this? There is this option here. VMs and templates, right? The blue icon. This blue icon. So everyone is on the blue icon. And now Gabriel and Zhang has reached the conclusion that the template cannot be powered on. While I'm asking you to take a screenshot of a powered on template, you're saying that it cannot be powered on. So Tosin has put a screenshot here. 33%. Okay, we're ahead of this. Maybe I'm seeing it now. 916. Oh, sorry, now I'm seeing that. So template cannot power on. So guys, that's what I wanted you to discover, that you cannot have that screenshot because first of all, you go here, you go here, right? And then second thing is you can, I wanted you to figure that out, and you guys are smart, so that's good. So expand that to ODC, and the template is here, VM05 template. And when you want to power on, obviously you cannot power it on. Template can never be powered on. I just wanted you to discover that instead of me telling you that. So yes, so you can take a screenshot of this template with right-clicking the template. Template created but cannot be powered on. So take a screenshot by right-clicking it, where clearly it's showing template first of all. Second thing, power on option isn't there at all. Power on option is not there. So created a template without power on option. Created a template without power on option. That's a screenshot number 5. Created a template without power on option. Template never has, you cannot power on a template. You have to convert it, exactly. So we get that option. So I'm just gonna put that name there on the OneNote. Screenshot 5 created a template. Created a template without power on option. So we can only convert it. Then we can power on. When we convert it, it becomes a virtual machine, right? That can be powered on, but not the template. In the template format, it cannot be powered on. You can only create clones out of that, right? So guys, what about you want to update that template? What about you want to update that template? Suppose, so I hope everyone has taken the screenshot here. So if we right click that template, which option would be the best to update the template? Which option out of the four? New VM from this template, convert to virtual machine, clone to template, clone to library. Which option out of the four will be the best to update this template? Exactly. Oh, Mahmoud says convert. Shiva says new VM. Imana says convert. Zhang says, Jack says first option. Mariam says convert. Baba Tonis just says yes. And Maya convert. Add a library? Convert. So, oh, okay, convert to VM. So, okay guys, yes, you guys are right. If you want to upgrade the machine, you have to convert to virtual machine, the template, right? So you have to convert to upgrade the template because it is this template that you want to convert, and then you can go ahead and make it a template again, right? So this is VM05 template, and we can convert to virtual machine back here, but before that, 948, seriously? Okay. So we can just next time create a template as well, because I want you to show how do we create a new VM out of the template and what are the extra options in a VM management. So we're going to continue with this, but right now we actually, I'm so tempted to convert it to virtual machine, but what it will do is it will become a virtual machine, right? We want to continue with this topic in next class as well. So let's not convert to virtual machine. We know that it will be converted to a virtual machine, so and we know how virtual machine looks like, so it's not a big deal to do this. But I want to keep it a template. Why? Because when we go to this option, there is a long wizard that we need to understand. When you create a new machine out of a template, what kind of questions and what kind of lots of options it has when you create a clone. So it will give you a huge amount of options to choose from when you're creating a new machine, so you can actually choose and be very flexible in those options. So that's why do not convert it back to virtual machine now. We need to keep the template there, and please do remind me to in next class we need to start from how to create a clone of a template. It's not that difficult, but there are so many options which are kind of hidden, and I need to expose those options and show you that it can go very granular, and it can offer you a long list of options when you're creating a clone, right? So right now what we can say is 9:49. So just simply upload your document to upload your screenshots to the Blackboard. And if there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, bye bye and see you next week. We're gonna still continue with these virtual machine management, and then we're gonna go for fault tolerance and other advanced options. And yes, this week you're getting a quiz, because I need to at least mark you from my side, whether you need it or not. But for the management, I need to take 2 quizzes from you, right? So in order to mark you for that, so please do perform the quiz. Otherwise, obviously, to the management, I have to show that it's 0 if you didn't do the quiz, right? So let's go ahead and I'm gonna stop the video now. If there are any questions, let me know. So we have, okay, so there's a lot of Total 5 screenshots. Yes, total 5 screenshots. Please not this week. Sam is saying, Ed is saying we have 2 quizzes this week already. Shalendra is saying we already have 2 quizzes. Oh, okay. Ed is saying please. Okay, quiz will be next week. Don't worry. Okay, so quiz will be next week. I'll schedule it for next week, and that's it. Yeah, sure. Oh, no problemo. Could you please upload the PowerPoints too? Sure, Mariam. No quiz, sir, just screenshots. Please allow us the OneNote. Oh, hey, I added everyone. So you can just put in. Now Mustafa has separately WhatsApped me and gave his college ID. So I just need your college ID. In fact, you're there, right? You're here. So I'm just gonna.